When you have won the Indianapolis 500, it becomes the defining moment of your life.
Buddy Lazier, 1996.
Gordon Johncock, 73 and 82.
He's making a move! No! Not quite!
It was a battle. Eddie Cheever, 98.
Jim Rathman, 60.
Mario Andretti, 69. My life has never been the same since I won the Indianapolis 500.
Rick Mears, 79, 84, 88, and 91.
Little Al, 92 and 94.
He looked for a place to come by! Scott Goodyear tries it, but no!
The closest finish in Indy history.
Al Sr., 70, 71, 78, 87.
Roy Landag, 90 and 97.
Harnelli Jones, 63.
Roger Ward, 59 and 62.
Johnny Rutherford, 74, 76, and 80.
There's one race to win, and it's
The Indy 500.
The biggest thrill is to be called the Indy 500 champion.
Tom Sneva, 83.
Kenny Brack, 1999 Indianapolis 500 winner.
Bobby Answer, 68, 75, and 81.
Emerson Fittipaldi, 89 and 93.
They touch! Little Al into the wall. Fittipaldi continues on.
The Indianapolis 500.
The greatest spectacle in racing.
Danny Sullivan, 1985 winner.
Sullivan has the lead. Danny Sullivan. Just at that moment, losing control of the car.
Spin and win.
Bobby Rahal, 1986 winner.
Jacques Villeneuve, 1995 winner.
Juan Montoya, 2000 winner.
33 drivers, one winner.
Local favorite Tony Stewart comes back on this day of many happy returns, as does the exalted team owner Roger Penske with his drivers Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves. Michael Andretti comes back as well, and so does the two-time winner Arie Luyendyk.
A.J. Foyt, the only five-time winner, his owner and driver. Came here in 1958, I've never left. The Indianapolis 500, the greatest race in the world.
ABC Sports presents the Indy Racing League. Today, the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. And we've gotten a break in the weather. It has rained a good part of the week. It poured yesterday afternoon, but right now, cloudy skies. Very slight chance of rain, but not until later this afternoon. The temperature is 62 degrees and 400,000 to look on. Good morning, everyone. I'm Al Michaels, and you know the temples of sport are easily identified. Yankee Stadium, Wembley Stadium, Churchill Downs, Madison Square Garden. They are to sport what Buckingham Palace and the Palace of Versailles are to royalty. And so welcome to the unquestioned shrine of motor racing, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is where the kings of racing are crowned, and for the last few decades, the royal names have been Foyt, Andretti, Unser, Penske. But this sport had its own palace revolt 6 years ago, and with the armies marching off in different directions. But for now, however, all the kings and all the king's men are back together again, and the populace couldn't be happier. And just for good measure, there is an emerging queen on the horizon. There is no better story around than 20-year-old Sarah Fisher doing battle with the big boys at 220 miles per hour. And if there is something else that distinguishes the Indianapolis 500 this year, it is balance. Never in the history of this race has there been a narrower speed margin between the fastest and the slowest qualifiers. Within the hour, 32 men and 1 woman will take the green flag for what promises to be one of the most unpredictable, wide open, and competitive Indy 500s ever. And leading the field to that start-finish line and taking the green flag will be the pole sitter Scott Sharp, who qualified at better than 226 miles per hour, his 7th 500 start, as we go to Jack Arute.
Well, Michaels, you would think that at 500 miles you might have some time to rest, but Scott Sharp, as deep as this field is, when do you ride and when do you race?
These days, Jack, with the competition, I don't know if you ever rest. You know, you're always going to push pretty hard. Maybe you save a little something for those last 10 laps, but I think you're going to have to get on it pretty good all day.
Al, they may have won the pole and the pit stop competition, but 24 days ago, they unloaded their gear with one goal in mind, and that takes place at 11 a.m. today.
All right, Jack, as you will know, part of the pageantry and tradition here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, in about 40 minutes, the Purdue Band will play Back Home Again in Indiana, and that's appropriate because clearly one of the themes in the race this year, Back Home Again in Indiana, for this year's 500. Comebacks have been a part of Speedway lore since 1911 when Ray Haroon came out of racing retirement to win the first 500. This year's race will feature its share of returns. For Roger Penske, the finish line has always been the bottom line. No owner has won this race more times. His first win was with Mark Donohue in 1972. His teams have added 9 more wins, have earned 11 poles, and own a host of track records. He has been at the forefront of chassis design and engine design, and he's had the finest crews and drivers. But the bitter taste of failure came to the Penske team in '95, when after days of frustration, neither of his drivers, Al Unser Jr. or Emerson Fittipaldi, made the field. The IRL kart split has kept Penske away from Indy, but with kart champion Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves, he's back this year as a major force. Arie Luyendyk returns to the Brickyard after a decade of dominance and a year in retirement. Winning the Rookie of the Year award in '85 was just a harbinger of things to come for the Dutchman. Arie won the fastest Indy 500 in history in 1990, and then in 1996 he set lap qualifying records that still stand. But on race day, a collision with Eliseo Salazar eliminated any chance for victory. A second triumph at the Speedway, though, came in 1997, and Luyendyk was at the peak of his career. But then age and other factors led to an early retirement and a move to the broadcast booth. It was in that booth 1 year ago he decided to return. For Tony Stewart, winning the Indy 500 has always been the ultimate goal. Growing up in nearby Columbus, Indiana, he was a racing prodigy and fantasized about the Speedway. The dream turned to reality in '96 when Tony started from the pole and was Rookie of the Year despite finishing 24th with engine problems. Then after running both a 500 and a Charlotte 600 on the same day in '99, he drove full-time for Joe Gibbs' NASCAR team last year. Now he's back and will once again pull an Indy Charlotte double today. Michael Andretti is returning to the Speedway. No man ever has led more laps here without winning the race. The son of '69 winner Mario Andretti, Michael was Rookie of the Year in 1984, but he also brought the famed Andretti luck. In 1991, he was leading up until lap 188. A year later, only 8 laps from the finish, engine failure struck again. And then in 1995, with a 16-second lead, wouldn't you know it, another dose of Andretti luck.
Michael Andretti is kart's all-time victory leader, but he's never won the race that's most important to him. After a 5-year absence, Michael, what are your thoughts as you're ready to return for the Indianapolis 500?
Well, we're pretty excited about it. You know, a lot's gone into this. You know, people like Motorola and Archipelago have really gone to bat to get this thing here, and we're here now, ready to do our job. I think we have a really good race car, and hopefully we'll have a good day today.
Michael Andretti looking for a little good luck today, Jerry.
On Roger Penske's last visit here 6 years ago, when his drivers didn't qualify, he said the walk back to the garage area was long and lonely. And Roger, does this day finally allow you to put those memories to rest?
Jerry, this is going to be a great day for us. Obviously, that was the low part of our career, but coming back here, the people have been terrific, and we've got 2 terrific drivers, and we're just waiting to get this race started.
Roger, it is great to have you back. Welcome home. Jason Priestley?
Thank you, Jerry. Piloting the number 5 car today will be our 2-time Indy 500 champion, Arie Luyendyk. Arie, last year you stood in the broadcast booth, and on the parade laps you heard Little Al talk about just how emotional he was and how exciting it was to be back at the greatest spectacle in motorsports. You're preparing to do that yourself today. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good about myself, and I'm excited to be here, of course, but you know, going into the race, I haven't started a race in 2 years, so for me it's, you know, I'm going to take a conservative approach at the start and kind of find my slot somewhere and just get through the first couple of laps and get into a racing rhythm, because, you know, I haven't been in the car for 2 years as far as racing wheel to wheel. I've practiced a lot here and I feel good in the car, but, you know, racing wheel to wheel against 2-3 guys going into the corner, I have to get back into that groove.
Al Michaels, Arie Luyendyk will join our broadcast team today as he will be talking to us via radio during the parade laps and any cautions we might have.
Thank you, Jason, as he tries to win the race for the 3rd time. He's one of 4 former champions in the field today. Will we have a repeat winner? or will one of the other 29 win the Indianapolis 500 for the first time ever, as we take a look at the starting grid for the 85th Indy 500. Row 1, Scott Sharp on the pole. Last year's pole sitter, Greg Gray, is in the middle. In row 2, Arie Luyendyk on the outside, two-time Indy 500 winner. In the third row, Tony Stewart, the marathon man. He'll drive 1,100 miles today and tonight. In row 4, you have Buddy Lazier, who won this race in '96, starting from the inside. Youth will be served in row 5. Sam Hornish is 21. Sarah Fisher is 20. In row 6, no one's had more hard luck at Indy than Scott Goodyear. In row 7, the regal names, inside and out, Unser and Andretti. How tough is it to win from row 8? No winner has come from that row since 1935. Out of row 9, Eddie Cheever on the inside won the race in 1998. In row 10, all three of these men made dramatic runs on bump day last Sunday to get in. And in row 11, Billy Boat, who was on the pole 3 years ago, starts in the 32nd position. And there's a live shot of Billy Boat as the WorldCom countdown to the start of engines tells us we're 40 minutes from that moment.
The 85th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC Sports, brought to you by WorldCom, official sponsor of Indy 500. WorldCom, Generation D.
$400,000 to look on at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A lot of eyes trained all day on that car. Number 15, driven by Sarah Fisher. What a story. Here's Jack Arute.
She may be only 20 years old, but Sarah Fisher has been at this racing game since the age of 5.
You think you're a good driver?
Yes, I do.
And what makes you think that?
Well, I won a heat race.
Al, today her eyes reflect a determination to win more than just a heat race. She wants to win the race. Sarah Fisher, you're no longer a rookie at the Indy 500. How does last year's experience come into play?
Well, last year was really kind of a rush situation. You know, being a rookie, it's very hard to know what to expect and what to get out of the race. And this year, with having 13 races behind our belt, we've got a little bit more of an idea of what to expect, and we just want to go out there and finish. That's our #1 goal.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Al?
Thank you, Jack. She races for Derek Fisher's team. Speaking of teams, Cliff Durant and Andy Evans hold the record most entrants in a 500 race at 7. Chip Ganassi this year has 4 drivers in the race, including 2 rookies. One is Bruno Junqueira. The other is Nicholas Manassian, neither with a lot of oval track experience, but Jimmy Vasser starts here for the 6th time. And the key guy in that stable is Tony Stewart, who's with Leslie Goodell.
Al, Tony has 1,100 miles ahead of him today with the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. How, Tony, do you keep your focus on just this race without looking ahead at your busy day?
Easy. I make the media stand outside, so the easiest thing is just to relax like I always do. I mean, we run a Cup weekend every week, so you know, it's kind of the same routine for me. Just it's altered a little bit by just my diet. This is really the only thing that's changed this week since we have such a long day ahead of us. But you know, I went to sleep last night at 11 o'clock like I always do, and got up early this morning and ready to go.
Well, he's done the double dip before, Al, in 1999. He suffered from some dehydration at that time, but he's better conditioned this year, and he'll be getting an IV after this race before he heads to Charlotte.
And Leslie will try to win it for Ganassi the 2nd year in a row. As you take a look at another famed team owner, John Menard looks for his first Indy win. He has a guy in the front row. It's Greg Ray with Vince Welch.
Greg Ray has worked so hard in the weight room to get his body ready for today's grueling test. But Greg, what about the mental challenge of 500 miles?
Well, I tell you what, 500 miles is a long way, and it's a long way when you know it's the biggest race of the year. So, you know, we're set up to go 500 miles, and we really want to be around for that last 100 miles for the Indy 100. But we're a little concerned right now. We may have to change our game plan because it may become the Indy 250.
Greg Ray keeping an eye on the weather, starting from the front row for the 4th straight year, but Al still seeking his first victory.
And he'll also be keeping an eye on Roger Penske's 2 drivers. Because starting for Team Penske will be Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves. We'll talk to them when we come back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Look at the WorldCom countdown clock. A little more than a half hour before the gentlemen and the ladies start the engines. Meanwhile, a look down at the Speedway. Aerial coverage of today's race being brought to you by Monster.com, sponsor of Monster Sports Jobs on ESPN.com. That blimp travels around to all of the great events around the country. Speaking of travel, here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
6 of today's starters who also compete on the kart circuit have had a busy month of May. After racing at Nazareth, they stopped in Indianapolis to qualify, then sped to Motegi, Japan for a race 9 days ago. Then the long journey back brought them here for today's Indianapolis 500. Penske's 2 drivers, reigning kart champion Gilles de Ferran and rookie Helio Castroneves, were a part of that whirlwind month of May. And Gilles, I got to ask you, it took a supreme effort for you and your crew just to be here. Why is this race so important?
Well, obviously, you can just look at the stands and realize that. I mean, obviously, this is one of the biggest races in the world, if not the biggest. And, you know, it's a race that we want to be part of and obviously do well.
Helio, I'm told you got some advice from Rick Mears and Paul Tracy and others about what to expect on lap 1 in turn 1. What'd they tell you?
Well, they said turn 1 is going to be pretty narrow, and I'm expected to make wider, so let's see what's going to happen. Of course, with a calm down, make sure that we pass the first lap without any trouble. Enough. I'm ready to go, man. I tell you, let's go.
Al, both these drivers have to be considered among today's favorites.
They do. 2 rookies, and here's a guy who's not a rookie, but he's only 21 years old. Sam Hornish Jr. More on this emerging star from Vince Welch.
In his Panther Racing Team debut, Sam Hornish Jr. fulfilled all expectations by driving to victory in the season opener at Phoenix. To prove his Phoenix success was no fluke, Hornish again dominated at Miami to open the season with back-to-back wins. Hornish comes to Indianapolis having won 2 of 3 races. The second-year driver has led nearly half the race laps this season and is the youngest race winner and points leader in Indy Racing League history.
Sam, both of your victories have come on 200-mile events. What is your main concern as you head to a 500-miler today?
Biggest thing is there's more pit stops in this race, and I know that the guys on the Pennzoil Panther team are going to do a great job, but just got to make sure I get in and out of the pits as good as I can, so don't hold us up any.
He's the points leader, and Jack, has an eye on the championship.
And Vince, the points leader that is the defending champion, is with us now, Buddy Lazier. Buddy, second to Juan Montoya last year. What has your Delta team learned this year with Ron Hemmelgarn?
I'm blessed with a great team. The Tybo Coors Light car is going to be tough today. I think they give me just about everything I need. So it's a kind of a way you kind of roll the dice and see how the yellows come up. And if the yellows fall right, we got a good chance.
Leslie?
Jack, taking a break from his shoot in Minneapolis, Tim Allen has come down to the Indy 500, and I know you're a big race fan. What's it like for you to be here today?
Well, it's fun. My good friend Michael Andretti's racing, so he said, if I could make it, we got a day off shooting, because believe it or not, it was raining in Minneapolis, so I got to come down. It's good to be back at the 500. It's nice to see some of the old friends back, and I just love being here. If you've ever seen this thing, when everybody stands up and gentlemen and ladies, start your engines this year, it's just a tremendous experience. I brought 2 of my friends down. There's nothing quite like it. If you haven't been to Indy and you like car racing, you got to get here.
And he's not the only actor in the place that's very busy these days. One of them, Al, is sitting right next to you.
My man, Jason Priestley, the dude himself, race car driver, a big part of our coverage. You've been to the Indy before, to the 500. Is there anything like it in all of motorsports?
No, there really isn't, Al. I mean, all you got to do is look around this track or drive around this track, see all these people, feel the electricity in the air. There's nothing that compares to this anywhere in the world.
You'll be upstairs calling the race. Who do you think has the best chance to take the checkered flag today?
Well, I mean, today, as you mentioned earlier, it's been raining all week, and so there's no rubber left on the track. And really, you've got 33 drivers who all have a legitimate chance to win this race, because as they're going into turn 1, none of them really know what the track conditions are. So it could favor guys with a lot of experience, you know, Scott Sharp, Mark Dismore, Robbie Gordon, Scott Goodyear, guys like that. But on the other hand, it could be one of these young guns just step up and try and take the mantle away.
And then there's Sarah Fisher. Let's roll some tape. Tell me what this is all about.
Oh, this right here, Sarah asked me to go out and play hockey with her. And obviously I said something in a telecast that really upset her, because all she wanted to do was beat me up. Oh, again.
10-minute misconduct penalty. In that car is Susan Wagner of Bloomington, Indiana. She was the grand prize winner of the Oldsmobile Pace the Race contest. She led a parade of historic Oldsmobile Pace cars on a ceremonial lap. The bravado represents Oldsmobile's 11th and final appearance as the pace setter for the Indianapolis 500. One of the fixtures at this racetrack, Eddie Cheever. He has made a start in each year since 1990. Start number 12 in a row today for Eddie Cheever as we go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
And guys, 98 winner Eddie Cheever and two-time runner-up Scott Goodyear have combined for 21 events here in the Indy 500, which makes them the most experienced two-car team here. And Eddie, I got to ask you, based on the weather conditions, with all your experience, what are you most concerned about today?
This is going to be like 92, where the restarts were really tricky and a lot of people were making mistakes with cold tires, so it's going to be the hardest thing of all because we haven't run in this sort of temperature for most of the month, so it'll be tricky. But the field is so tight that it's going to be very hard to pass cars. I think you got to do it on restarts and at the start of the race.
Scott, you 3 times you've come oh so close, but I sense an air of confidence today that maybe this is your day.
I think we're very confident. You know, the guys in the team have done a great job. And like Eddie said, you know, I think 1992 sort of reminds me of 92 when I got up this morning. So, you know, just be smart, be patient, and go 450 miles because the race is really going to start with the last 50 miles, I think.
Well, Al, if the Indy Infinity engine performs as expected today, watch out for Team Cheever.
Watch out for Team Cheever. Always watch out for that man, Al Unser Jr., who came back after an absence last year. And when you think of Al Unser Jr., you think about the entire family, of course. Al Sr. won the Indy 4 times. Uncle Bobby won it 3 times. 9 Indy 500 wins for the Unser family. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Al Unser, the landscape may have changed since you first came here in 1983, but what about your drive?
Hey, it's if anything, it's gotten a little bit better because we're more calm, know what more to expect here, and so we're going to go out there and just have a great time today.
Al, how important is Al Unser Jr. to the IRL? He was voted most popular driver last year.
And watching him each and every move today, the guys calling the race upstairs. Well, Bob Jenkins is a native Hoosier. First attended this race 4 decades ago. He's watching his 40th Indy 500. Larry Rice was Rookie of the Year in this race several years back. Has run here twice. Gentlemen, it is yours.
Thanks very much, Al. Well, if qualifying is any indication of how it's going to go today, it's going to be exciting. You mentioned that this is the tightest bunch field in the history of the Indianapolis 500. That's going to be great for the spectators, but what about the drivers, Larry?
Well, it's going to make passing critical. You have to plan a pass well before you get there. By the time you get to the short straightaway, between 3 and 4, you should be only a few feet behind the guy in front of you. You catch him coming off of the corner, then you drop down, going down the straightaway, and complete the pass going into turn 1.
Most record number change of lead changes, 29 back in 1960. Ironically, Al, my first 500.
Wow. Jim Rathman, who we saw in our tease, the winner of that race. Anticipation, excitement, all building. There goes Michael Andretti getting his ride to the grid. A little bit more than 21 minutes for the countdown. The start of the Indianapolis 500 is always wild. Let's go back to last year. Robbie Gordon qualified 4th. Meant he started in the 2nd row, but watch him. We have him highlighted there. He moves down on the inside. He tries to take the lead from his teammate, Greg Ray. Went on to finish 6th. Dicey move. He's in the field today, starting on the outside of row 1. Let's go to Vince Welch.
Already at the Yard of Bricks at the start of last year's race, and Robbie Gordon, now you're on the outside of row 1 to begin today's event. How does your strategy differ?
I'm very excited about the opportunity. You know, we qualified good. I think my race setups are pretty good. Starting on the outside, I mean, that's kind of the normal line going into turn 1. But the most important thing for me and everybody else is get all of us through turn 1 clean. It's 500 miles. We'll race them from their home.
Al?
All right, thank you, Vince. Well, starting in that 4th spot this year will be Mark Dismore. I know Father's Day is 3 weeks away, but this is too good a story to hold in the can for that long. Mark Dismore, a look at him with Jack Arute.
There exists in every father-son relationship moments that both define and divide.
It's hard for anybody and their father to, first of all, to get along and relate. But at the same time, I think the father always wants the son's approval and the son always wants the father's approval.
For Mark and Emerson Dismore, racing was their source of commonality, a chance for them to measure each other, an opportunity for Mark to validate his worth within his father's rigid value system. In 1991, Mark Dismore arrived at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a rookie.
I wanted to be there so bad that I made some decisions that I probably shouldn't have made. And I knew that I needed to make a statement. Well, I ended up making a statement, but it sure wasn't the one I wanted to make.
Yeah, I thought he was
dead man, you know, because that was a terrible crash.
That crash robbed Mark Dismore of everything he held sacred. Broken bones and shattered dreams are all that remained.
The emotional hurt was probably more devastating than the physical hurt.
You know, I still feel like I can do well in this sport, and I go out and I have a miscue, and it kind of hurts me emotionally as well as physically.
Quietly from the darkness emerged a tender act from an uncommon man.
I know when I was in intensive care for about, I don't know, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it was, he was there every day for me, holding my hand, talking to me, you know, telling me he was proud of me, you know, and hang in there and everything will be all right.
In 1999, the dad that Mark fought with and cried with contracted cancer. A cancer that became a portal of opportunity for Mark when he won his first Indy race at Texas.
Hi, Dad, this is for you. I hope you whip that damn cancer.
No one is sure how many more Indy 500s Mark Dismore will race in, and fewer know how many his father will live to witness. But both pray that God will allow them one remaining moment of celebration that will define them rather than divide them and crown Mark Dismore Indy 500 champ.
Yeah, I'd sure love to see him win this one. It's what he needs, you know.
It'd be the biggest gift I could ever give him. Pure and simple.
Emerson Dismore will be at Mark's home in Greenfield, Indiana, watching the start of the 85th Indianapolis 500, just minutes away.
The 85th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC Sports, brought to you by Oldsmobile and the all-new 2002 Bravada, the official pace vehicle of this year's Indy 500. Oldsmobile, backed by General Motors. Pennzoil, protection under the toughest driving conditions. And Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway moments ago. That picture for posterity. The 32 men, one woman who will in a few minutes take the green flag. Tony George, the president of the Indy Racing League and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the front. Jeff Ward will be starting 8th today, and of course he picked up sponsorship from the rock band Aerosmith earlier this week. A lot of eyes on that car as we go to the PA announcer Dave Calabro.
All right, race fans, are you ready for a special treat? Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to please rise and remove your hats. Here to pay tribute to our great nation and sing our Star-Spangled Banner, the lead singer from Aerosmith, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steven Tyler.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through a perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glad, who bombs bursting in air, can't prove
We'll be back with the 85th Indianapolis 500 after a word from our ABC stations.
The winners are legendary Andretti, Unser, Mears, and the unparalleled Foyt. Now, names like Salazar, Hornish, Fisher, and Sharp make their bid to join the most exclusive fraternity in racing.
We're about to go green.
ABC Sports presents the Indy Racing League, the premier event for the IRL, the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. Pre-race pageantry continuing. The drivers getting into their cars on the starting grid. 33 per usual to take the green flag, and that's just minutes away. And right now, as part of the Memorial Day celebration, here is General James L. Jones, U.S. Marine Corps Commandant.
Through their sacrifice, America continues to fulfill the ideals and hopes of our founding fathers. May God bless America, the men and women in uniform who serve her, and those who compete here at the Brickyard today. Semper Fidelis.
Race fans, his voice has become an institution at this race. Here to perform back home again in Indiana is our great friend, Mr. Jim Neighbors.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new morn hay sends out its fragrance through the hills I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
And now, to give the most famous words in motorsports, is the chairperson of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mary Holman George.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Just An amazing moment, always. And what would an Indy 500 be without one A.J. Foyt? Let's go to Jackaroo.
AJ, for 43 years, you've been witnessing this moment as a driver and an owner. Describe it.
Well, it's awful nerve-wracking right now until after the first 3 or 4 laps. So everybody's tied up and got knots in your stomach.
Vince Welch?
Mario Andretti, you've won this race. You've run it 29 times, but today you're a father supporting a son. What would it mean to you to see Michael win it today?
Well, it would mean everything for him. The important thing is what it would do for him and his career. That's why I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that he has a chance to go for it.
Jerry Punch?
Well, Scott Sharp and Mark Dismore's car owner Tom Kelly is unbeaten here in the month of May. Tom, you won the pole in the pit stop competition. There's only one thing left, the race. What would that mean?
Jerry, it'd be the most unbelievable thing you could possibly accomplish in sports. To win this race today, it's just awful hard to describe.
And no matter what happens, he is so proud of his team, he's nicknamed them Kelly's Heroes. Al?
All right, Jerry, the car's ready to roll away from the grid and to take you from the green flag to the checkered flag. Let's go upstairs to Bob Jenkins.
All right, thanks, Al. And we look once again at the WorldCom starting grid. Front row consists of Sharp, Ray, and Gordon, separated by just 0.7 of a second. Row 2, a popular veteran, the kart champion, and a 2-time Indy winner. Row number 3, 2 former rookies of the year and a veteran of 5 Indy 500s. The defending IRL champion and 2 from the kart series in row number 4. Row 5, 3 young but talented drivers. The average age here, 23. A veteran, a sophomore, and a rookie in the 6th row. Row number 7, 2 famous names and an impressive newcomer in the middle. A rookie won from 22nd starting position in 1927, where freshman Nicholas Manassian starts today. A former winner and 2 seasoned veterans sit in row 9. The 10th row consists of 2 veterans who finished in the top 10 last year and an eager sophomore. And in the last row, a pair of rookies and former pole sitter Billy Boat. Well, the weather has certainly improved from what it has been this previous week when it's rained every day. We now have a temperature in the low 60s. There is a cloud cover. However, the Weather Bureau is saying that if there is going to be rain, it will be late this afternoon, and there is only a slight chance of that happening. So it's cool here in Indianapolis, and that, of course, means that there is concern with tire temperatures and other things. But right now, we are close to being at the starting point. The first SUV in history, the Oldsmobile Bravati, is pacing the race this year. Its driver, Elaine Irwin Mellencamp. Also inside is our own Jason Priestley, who will be with us here in the booth later. But right now, Jason, you must have a bit of an adrenaline rush, I would guess.
Oh, you got it, Bob. This is unbelievable. 400,000+ fans here standing on their feet, cheering on these 33 drivers who are getting ready to take the checkered flag. I'm coming through turn 4 right now. I'm about to get my first look at the front straightaway. One word comes to mind, Bob. Booyah!
Well, whatever that means, I assume you're having a good time and enjoy the ride. Now to Jackaroo.
Well, Bob, last year, Juan Montoya won this race by shaving 1 second off of every pit stop. So teams have worked on their fuel tanks and their fuel hoses this year. They won't tell us specifically what they've done. We do know one thing. These hoses, Vince Welch, now are smooth inside to reduce the friction and increase the fuel load.
Well, Jack, pit strategy will definitely play a key role today, especially for those teams in the back of the pack. They're going to need to make up some positions in the pit lane. That means when the leaders come in, those in the back may choose to stay out to gain some positions on the racetrack. Now, the key will be the yellow flags. When will those teams get the yellow? They're counting on some good fortune today. And Jerry Punch, if they get that good fortune, one of those drivers may be earning a fortune.
Exactly, Vince, and the cooler temperatures have the crews concerned a little bit about engine reliability and tire grip. Now, if the oil temperature drops below 70 degrees on a restart, the engines can erupt with no notice. And as far as tires are concerned, they need 130 degrees to grip the racetrack, and that may take an extra lap or 2 after a pit stop. Bob?
Less than 2 laps before we go green. Here are the stories we'll be keeping an eye on as the race unfolds, how the drivers and car owner Roger Penske, who are back here after an absence, will fare. We'll watch the young guns, the pit strategy that will be employed, and of course we'll keep an eye on the skies and watch the weather very closely. Well, last year he occupied Larry Rice's seat here in the ABC booth. This year, Arie Luyendyk is out of retirement and back on the track. And during today's race, we'll be talking with him when the track is under yellow. Larry, let's try to talk with him here as we get set to go green.
Arie, this is Larry Rice in the ABC booth. You got a copy?
I hear you loud and clear, Larry.
Tell us what your emotions are getting ready to start this race.
This is great. We're back home again. The crowd, the race. It's just wonderful to be back. I'm looking forward to a good, safe race for everybody.
Well, good luck. We'll talk to you during the yellows.
Arie Luyendyk set to go in the Indy 500. We will go 200 laps here this afternoon. Scott Sharp won the pole position at 226.037. The fuel window without a caution should be between laps 28 and 32. Right now, 33 drivers are all alone. 3 days of time trials determine the 33 starters. All thoughts right now, however, are on the start of the race when the green flag drops and all charge into turn 1.
There's so many colors and so many people. It's almost mind-blowing.
Undescribably intense. I'm trying to be a little patient. Obviously, you can't win the race on the first lap.
Dangerous. Everybody is very jittery.
That's kind of like being in a small airplane in a thunderstorm.
You have 33 of the fastest cars in the field looking down a straightaway full of people, turning into a 90-degree left-hand turn.
It's an overwhelming experience.
So many things happen. The car gets sucked along like a vacuum cleaner's pulling it along.
Get a great start and be the guy that charges down the inside and leads going into turn 1.
Well, the field now moving down the backstretch and the pace car beginning to pull away from the field. Scott Sharp in command now. 33 drivers in the midst of a dream. They've accomplished their first goal of making the race. They have fallen victim to a trance that can only be found here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. When 500 miles are over, 32 will have awakened to the reality, but just one will realize their dream and win the greatest spectacle in racing.
The alignment looks very good, Bob. Much better than last year as they come onto the main straightaway.
And they move up to speed now, coming down slowly, waiting for the green flag. And the quest for racing immortality is underway for the 85th time. The Indianapolis 500 is on, and Scott Sharp jumps into the lead.
Robbie Gordon already, very good. Scott Sharp.
He bobbled in turn 1, and he's hitting the wall. Scott Sharp.
Scott Sharp got high coming off at turn 1 as Robbie Gordon was trying to go around the outside of Greg Ray. And you can see a lot of the cars went back down to the inside pit lane just to get around him.
This is the 11th time an opening lap incident has occurred in the 500, most recently in 1998. Well, there is Jim Kelly and Jack Arute. Down to you.
All that Scott Sharp said on the radio after hitting the wall and coming to rest, fellas, is, I am so sorry, guys. I am so sorry.
Well, we noticed him, Larry, coming out of turn number 1 that the car bobbled, and sure enough, the car went into the wall. Let's take a look at it.
Okay, here you see them coming through the corner, and he just spun the thing. Cold tires got to him. Look at Gordon. He barely made him. The cold tires, he got down on that white line with cold tires. It wiggled. Gordon did a terrific job to stay out of that accident, not make it worse than it was. Right there, he's on the outside. Oh, barely misses it.
Close that was. And a lot of the drivers went to the warm-up lane to avoid his. Here is his onboard camera.
Oh, you can see he got down just too low going through that corner and lost the thing, went up and slapped it with the right side. Luckily, it stayed near the outside of the racetrack and didn't cross it and get in front of everybody else.
Now here's a look from Arie Luyendyk's onboard camera.
You can see Arie is taking it a little easy right here. Already, he's trying to miss an accident in the very first corner. Luckily, they could get out of the throttle. They weren't going that fast, and that's why.
Very fortunate Scott's car did not come back down across the racetrack into the path of those coming. Well, the caution is out for the first time here at Indianapolis. Pole sitter Scott Sharp has crashed. Well, the caution is out here in Indianapolis because of an incident on the first lap. Scott Sharp crashes. We're on board with Greg Ray. Will watch from his perspective as to what happened to Scott when he got down into one.
You can see Scott go down on that white line, and when he touched that white line, it just got away from him. And look how close Gordon was. He almost was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Down to Jack Arute.
Tom Kelly, can you describe what you saw in that replay? Looked like a case of white line fever.
Yeah, I just think the car tires were cold. Scotty got down awful low in turn one and got on the white line, and the car just snapped on him. Once that happens, that first turn, it's all over.
Jerry Punch?
We told you a moment ago they need 130 degrees in those tires to be able to grip, and so now a lot of drivers are asking what happened to Sharp, including Eddie Cheever. And a moment ago, Owen Snyder, Eddie Cheever's crew chief, said, look, Eddie, he got below that white line. You can put the left side tires down to the line, but don't go below it before 4 or 5 laps because those tires will definitely not grip. Bob?
Well, that's certainly what we saw as Scott Sharp loses control down in turn number 1, bangs the wall in turn number 2. He is okay, but boy, what a disappointment.
In his defense, Bob, we've talked all month about how it looks different to the rookies, but it looks different to the veterans too. When you're running down into turn 1, you've got that sea of humanity down there. That's a very sharp corner. I think he just misjudged, went a little too low into the corner because of all those people down there that he hadn't seen all month, and that's what caused the whole thing.
Well, ABC Sports is giving you the chance to win a ride in an Indy car and a trip to next year's Indianapolis 500. We'll be revealing the Indy All-Access Sweepstakes Driver of the Day later in today's race, so stay tuned. Well, Jason Priestley joins us up here in the booth now after your ride in the pace car, which I'm sure was exciting, but we've had some unnecessary excitement here in the first lap.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when a crash happens like this on the first lap, as you know, for the fans and for the racers alike. You know, there's nothing like starting the biggest race of your life, but you'd really like to get a little further into it before the first yellow. Isn't that right, Larry?
Well, you know, Scott Sharp's had a tremendous month. I'm sure he was looking forward to a great race, but that just shows you what a very small mistake at any time and any point in this race makes, and it can put you out that quickly.
Here's Leslie Goodell.
Scott Sharp, tell us what happened right there.
I wish I totally knew. You know, I went down there, and obviously we all went a lot slower in there. I was way off the gas compared to where we were the other day in carburation day. Obviously then the track was a lot warmer, and so I knew we had to be a bit more gentle in there, but just it snapped right on me. I thought I'd caught it, but I was really surprised, unfortunately. But the Delphi guys, I feel so bad. I mean, I don't even know where to begin to start about how much work and effort's gone into this month, and to throw it away like that, it's crazy.
Sorry about your disappointing start. Jack, over to you.
Leslie, we saw on the replays that Robbie Gordon had a very close call with that Delphi automotive car. Here's what Robbie Gordon did on the immediate yellow flag lap. Pulled his car down onto the safety apron, then onto the warm-up lanes, and he radioed to A.J. Foyt, I'm down here to get comfortable again and to scrub off the debris that I might have picked up on the tires. Vince?
A.J. Foyt, your driver, Robbie Gordon, narrowly missed a tragedy there in the first lap. What was the communication between the two?
Well, we were just talking. He said that he was going to turn around and drop back, so I'm glad we did. We wasn't going to race them down that first lap because we felt like we had some debris on our tires. We wanted to make sure they were clean, so that saved us.
A.J. Foyt, guys.
What a heart-stopping moment for Robbie Gordon. Well, this has been an interesting month in terms of incidents down in turn number 1, and for some reason that has been the scene of most of the incidents here this month.
I think it's the hardest corner in all of racing, motor racing. It will haunt you, and even after 10 or 15 years, as much as I've learned, I still have so much to learn about turn 1. It's a tricky corner.
For me, that's definitely the toughest turn on this track, and you know, what is it? I don't know. Maybe it's just something visual. You know, when you look down at turn 1 and you follow the wall looks like it kind of takes a 90-degree turn, but the track actually doesn't bend quite that hard. It's softer. So visually, I think a lot of it depends on what you're looking at and what you're focusing on.
I don't know if it's just the direction of the wind that filters through there or what. Certainly you're carrying some serious speed. It has certainly the appearance that it tightens up. But, you know, I love turn 1. You get turn 1 right, the rest of your lap's going to be flying.
I'm sure Scott does not like turn one right now. He is out of competition. Now the green flag comes out, and let's hope we have a long period of racing here as Robbie Gordon comes down in front of Greg Ray. That's Gilles de Ferran there in the 3rd position. And up into 4th is Mark Dismore, who is Scott Sharp's Kelly teammate.
There is Mark Dismore. He's settled into that 4th position. That's exactly where he started. I think you're going to see guys being very, very careful after that first incident. They're not going to want to be the second incident so early in the race.
Greg Ray closes in just a little bit on Robbie Gordon. This is the 4th Indy 500 that Gordon has led. He has led a total of 31 laps coming into this event, and he now is about to lead 7 laps. 2nd straight year that a pole sitter here in Indianapolis has finished last. There have been 5 in all.
Well, it's very, very unusual to have the pole sitter out quite this early. Last year, actually the race went for around 70 laps without a yellow flag.
De Ferran running 3rd. Here is Mark Dismore running in the 4th position as those 4 cars are separated just a little bit. Ari Lyon bike, and we have another crash. That's Sarah Fisher. Sarah Fisher has crashed in turn 2, and we see another car that is also involved. So an early out for Sarah, and 2 of the favorites are eliminated.
Wow, what a tough, tough break.
And another car is up against the wall. That, of course, is Sarah getting out. So this is at least a 3-car incident in turn 2.
You can see some very heavy damage to the back of her car. That car will not be repaired. It's a little oil fire where the oil lines are leaking out there. Nothing to be really concerned about, but definitely a hard impact on the left rear of that car.
Sarah climbs out. She appears to be okay. Well, we'll take a look at the replays and see what happened. On board with her.
Once again, she's on the white line. Cold tires, and when she got up there, she collected that other car.
It's Scott Goodyear, that car that we saw up against the wall. So his grill to go Infinity-powered car is history. And there it is. She just takes Scott. Oh, and Sarah got a little bit airborne there as she hit the outside wall.
Wow, that's a big hit, guys. I'm glad to see that she's okay and moving around and out of the car and obviously okay, but that's really unfortunate. This happens a lot, Larry Rice, when you're on a cold track with cold tires. You get down, if you touch up on any paint, the paint's really like ice.
Well, the paint is something that it's been warm all month long. It's been very hot here, so they could run on that paint, and it didn't really make a big difference, but suddenly it's a big, big problem.
Here's Jerry Punch.
Standing by in Sarah Fisher's pits with team manager Rob Edwards. And Rob, it looked like another cold tire situation. Is that what the team is surmising?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, talking to Derek from the spotter's location, he said it looked like it just got a little loose on her, which is probably, you know, it's real cold, trying to get tire pressures and tire temperature up. Going to take a few laps, and probably wasn't quite there yet.
Any indications from the spotter stand from Derek that she hit pretty hard? She seemed to be okay?
Yeah, she's fine. She's, you know, annoyed and frustrated, but she's fine. She climbed out by herself, and she's fine.
That's good news about Sarah Fisher. Vince?
Check in with Dane Hart now from Scott Goodyear's crew. Dane, did you get any idea from Scott what may have transpired?
Yeah, Scott's still in the car. Evidently, they're trying to get him out. I guess Sarah spun in front of us, and he just had nowhere to go.
Have you heard from Scott? Has he communicated back to you?
Yeah, he just talked on the radio about a couple of seconds ago, and he said he was okay, but he was still in the car. He just wants the safety guys to get him out.
Frustrating finish for Scott Goodyear making his return to the Speedway. Bob Jenkins?
Buddy Lazier is on pit road, and it looks like that they're going to lift the engine cover.
He reported that he was only on 7 cylinders on the radio, so they're going to take a look under the hood to see if they can find out what is causing it. Might be as simple as a spark plug wire off, hopefully, but even though that's if that's all it is, he's still going to lose a lot of precious time on the racetrack.
Already in the first 9 laps of the race, we have lost 4 possible winners, including the pole sitter, Scott Sharp. We'll be right back. 10 laps completed here at Indianapolis. Ari Lyondike running in 5th position.
Ari, this is Larry Rice. That first corner was a little more exciting than you wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah, Larry on the inside was Jill had a really good start, and we kind of decided to not do any games in the first turn, so kind of let him go. But I was keeping an eye on Mark Dismore on the inside, and when I looked up, I saw, I didn't know that it was Scott Sharp, but a car up against the wall. And good for me was that he didn't really bounce off the wall and back into my way. I just missed his drive shaft, which was rolling down the track. But other than that, never really got any debris on the tires, because that's a concern. You might pick up a puncture that way. So not really getting off to a good start here. We haven't really raced yet, but the car is good so far.
Okay, well, good luck when they get the green.
Down to Jack Arute and Buddy Lazier's pit.
Well, Bob, Buddy Lazier is pitted for a second time right behind me. On the first stop, they changed the electronic spark box. But now, these Oldsmobile engines utilize electronic fuel injection. The spark box didn't cure the problem, so now the team is going to work trying to change the electronic fuel injectors. You can see them on the left-hand side pod of Buddy Lazier. They look like a string of salamis, but they provide the fire to these Oldsmobile engines.
Well, we're still cleaning up the debris over in turn number 2 from that incident involving Scott Goodyear and Sarah Fisher. We'll return with more of the 85th Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Indianapolis 500 continues on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
2 cautions here in the early going at the Indianapolis 500. 13 laps completed. An interesting warning to Eddie Cheever Jr. from his spotter just a moment ago.
And Sarah Fisher did exactly the same thing that Scott Sharp did. Way below the white line. You cannot go down there. 10-4.
That was Owen Snyder, who is Eddie Cheever's crew chief. Still cleaning up. The evolution of these race cars has come a long way, and so has the safety. Here is more in this trackside with Larry Rice.
Indy Racing League cars are designed with driver safety in mind. This roll hoop behind the driver's head has been FIA tested to withstand the stresses that it needs to withstand in case a car should get upside down. The tub, the driver's compartment, has Dyneema in it. That's an anti-intrusive material, so in case of a crash, nothing protrudes into the driver compartment and injures the driver. The side pods are longer and higher than they used to be, and they have a honeycomb material in them. That's all to absorb energy in case of side impact. In case of frontal impact, the steering shaft has to be collapsible so it doesn't drive the steering wheel back into the driver. The driver's compartment itself is now 19 inches wide instead of 16. That gives it more room in here for the driver and for this beaded foam material seat. This is very energy absorbent and really helps the driver in case of a high G impact. He has a head collar that's also made out of that same beaded foam material. That protects his head and neck in case of an impact. All of these things are designed so that when you see that big explosion, if one of these cars ever hits the fence, the driver can hopefully get up and walk away.
And that is exactly what has happened so far. Everybody has walked away, Jerry Punch.
And some of the veteran drivers, Bob, are very concerned about the rookies making moves beneath the white line. And one of those is Eddie Cheever Jr., who just told his spotter a moment ago, I'm very concerned about the 2 Ganassi rookies right in front of me, Manassian and Junqueira. He said they're all over the racetrack. I have got to get by these guys when the green comes out in a big hurry. Bob?
Well, Thursday night, the Stanley Cup Finals are on ABC. Can the Devils repeat as champions, or will future Hall of Famer Ray Bork finally capture hockey's holy grail? Avalanche versus Devils, live Thursday night, May 31st, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC. Tuesday night's game 2 on ESPN will be live at 8 Eastern. The Avalanche lead the Devils 1-0. There is race control where the decisions are being made. Right now we're under caution because of our second crash in the first 14 laps of the 85th running of the 500.
The 85th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC Sports, brought to you by WorldCom, official sponsor of Indy 500. WorldCom, Generation D. The joy of Pepsi. John Deere, nothing runs like a deer. And National Car Rental, go your own way with National's Emerald Club.
The
16 laps complete here at Indianapolis, down to Jack Arute.
Well, guys, how good is Robbie Gordon's car operating? You start with a wicker bill that produces some downforce. He's already radioed in and said, by the end of the race, I think I can go to this small 1/4 of an inch wicker bill, or maybe even run without one. That creates the downforce, Larry, but if they can go down to the small one, look out.
It really is a big advantage because you get a lot more straightaway speed. If you get straightaway speed, it really is a huge advantage at the end of the race.
Robbie Gordon picks up the pace over in turn number 3, and we are about to go back to racing here at Indianapolis. The green will come out on lap number 18. And here we go once again. It's Gordon.
Hornish is spun.
Oh, and a crash up coming out of corner number 4. And that's Sam Hornish and another car up against the outside wall as others try to dodge the debris that's been scattered. And it's Al Unser Jr.
Little Al is very upset. You can see him shaking his fist, but he was just a victim of circumstances. Once again, the cold tires, these guys just tough break for Sam Hornish. It doesn't appear like he has much damage, but little Al's got, you can see the right front corner of that car right there. It's been in.
We'll take a look at the replay again. This occurred as they were coming down for a restart, and Hornish just gets loose on that white line again.
I think you're exactly right. I think he touched that white line again. Al tried to squeeze through on the outside and just couldn't quite make it. Let's take another look at it. Yeah, looks like he's on that white line. He spins down to the inside, then takes off up the racetrack, and little Al just right at the last minute tried to dodge him and got into the fence pretty hard. So he's going to be done for the day. A tough break for him. But it appeared that Hornish actually didn't touch anything, although he's going to lose a couple of laps.
Yeah, he was all over that white line, and this is a problem that when you're racing on slick tires like these guys do. When the slick tires are cold, they're really like 4 blocks of ice. I mean, I had a problem up at Laguna Seca racing up there on a cold morning, and they're really hard to control.
Well, here's Sam Hornish's in-car.
There he goes, right across the white line, and as soon as he touched it, that thing took off on him. These guys in the pits, they better be telling everybody to stay off of that thing right there. He was very lucky that he didn't get nailed by somebody. There were a ton of cars behind him.
And here is the look from Al Unser Jr.'s onboard camera.
See, it looks like he's going to make it through, and just right at the end, he just came right towards him. Little Al had to go to the fence and try to miss it.
That's really unfortunate for little Al. I know he was, you know, last year he was so excited being back here, and to have his race end this way this year is not what he wanted.
Down to Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, it happens out on the road as well. We're talking about cold tires, but really, I'm beginning to believe it's this white line. What happens when you drive on your passenger car is, if you ever notice, when you get on a slick white line, it doesn't create the same sort of traction, same sort of grip, Jerry Punch, as you get with a very porous asphalt.
Indeed, but right now the grip that Rick Gallus is trying to get is a grip on his emotions. I saw your head down and your face in your hands, Rick. We are so sorry for this. What's happened at the beginning of this race?
Yeah, it's too bad. We really had a good race car. We run 225 on carburation day in turn 3, and Al's been not letting everybody know what we're doing. We really thought we had a shot at it today, and you know, he said he had a hot rod on the video, and it's just unfortunate because we had a good car, and I just wanted this for him. I really did. I wanted this to be a good day for him, and it didn't work out.
Any ideas on the severity of the damage?
It doesn't matter. Jerry's out of the race, and all that matters is that we're out. So we'll just have to regroup now and go to Texas.
So much emotion from here in the Gallus pit. Vince?
John Barnes and the Pennzoil Panther team, what exactly happened? Evidently down on the white line, but you didn't hit anything.
No, he just spun the thing down there, and it looks like the cars, a lot of them are loose because of how cold it is and how hard the tire is. So guys are just getting down on the apron too far, and things jumping out on them.
It made Sam get out of the car, however.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on down here with that. We're trying to get him down here, get the car down here, and we'll get back going again. He didn't hit anything or anything wrong with the car.
Just going to put 4 new Firestones on it, guys, and get Sam Hornish back in the seat.
Well, a slow beginning to the 500 here in Indianapolis. We'll take a break and be back with more. 20 laps completed in the 85th running. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can see that today's temperatures have actually risen until about 10:30, and now at 11 o'clock. the temperature drop 4 degrees, and that is playing a factor in the race because we have had numerous crashes so far, and most of the race run under caution to this point, and 20 laps have been completed. Robbie Gordon is the leader, and he has led all the way so far, but three actually very costly cautions. We go to Leslie Goodell.
Obviously a very disappointing day for Sarah Fisher. I know you didn't want to end the race this way. Sarah, can you tell us what happened?
Well, it's just really, really, really loose. You know, it's kind of cold out here, and everybody's having kind of the same problems. It's just entirely loose. I've never been that loose here at Indianapolis, and it's something very unprepared for. I was just hanging on for dear life, and then finally I couldn't hold on anymore. I mean, I was fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. It even started rolling around some sway bars, but you know, that's what happened. It just snapped around.
The white line itself, we've seen a couple incidents now where once they've hit that white line, Sam Hornish Jr. just spun out. Did that have anything to do with it?
No, I don't think it's necessarily the white line. I think it's just, you know, tires aren't up to pressure yet, really, and it's just very cold out. And, you know, I've been running on the white line the entire month of May, and it hasn't bit me yet. It's never bit me here, so I certainly don't think it's the white line. I just think it's just pretty cold out, and there's absolutely no grip out there.
But you're all right.
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, we are back to racing. By the way, Scott Goodyear is complaining of back pain. He's being taken down to Methodist Hospital for some x-rays. Green flag comes out. We are back to racing at Indianapolis, and Greg Ray closes in quickly on Robbie Gordon as they head into turn number 1, and Greg Ray is going to take the lead in turn 1.
And Robbie Gordon dropped way down on the racetrack. I'm not sure what that was all about, but it looked like there for a second he was just asking Greg Ray to go on around, and then he pulled back in front of him.
Harry, one of the things that A.J. Foyt and Robbie Gordon are trying to do is conserve a little fuel. With as many caution laps as there's been, this will move the window further towards 50 and farther away from lap 30.
Good point. Already 22 laps down. We predicted a fuel stop should we stay green between 28 and 32, and we could get near 50 as a car slows on the left of your right of the screen now coming into the pits. We might mention that Michael Andretti made a pit stop during the late phases of the most recent caution period.
Yes, they have lights on the dashboard that show them that they have a tire pressure problem. He had a tire going down. He hit some debris, so he had to go in and change a tire.
Watching the
and Larry Rice, Sam Hornish Jr. had to come back in a second time because after his Pennzoil Panther team pushed him out with 4 new fresh Firestones, Sam didn't have his belts buckled, so they had to bring Hornish back in, get the belts buckled, and Sam was urging him to hurry up so he could get out. But safety first, they had to get those belts buckled and get him tight in the seat.
Hornish did spin down in turn number 4, but the car didn't hit anything, and so he is back in competition. This is the 4th consecutive Indy 500 that Greg Ray has led. There is DeFerrin and Dismore running back there in 3rd and 4th position. But a real good battle up front is now Gordon comes closer to the leader, Greg Ray.
You know, that's the second time down the front straightaway that Robbie's taken an odd line through there. I don't know if he thinks there's some debris out there or if he's trying to keep, I don't know, what do you think, Larry?
Hard to tell. It is a very odd line. He seems to be pulling way down to the inside. You'd normally think he'd want to stay up there in that draft and conserve fuel.
Do you think maybe he's trying to just have some exaggerated sideways motions to try to maybe get some heat in those tires because it is so cold out?
Anything is possible.
Look at the drivers who have gained positions here in the first 24 laps. Calkins up 12, Cheever up 12, Beechler and Salazar also up 12, and Bode has gained 14 positions. Leslie Goodell.
Another unfortunate finish for Al Unser Jr. today. And tell us what happened. You got caught behind and you really didn't have any place to go, it looked like.
Yeah, we were just coming off of that restart, coming off of 4, and Sam spun it down low. And then it just left us nowhere to go. He went up high, and that I'd already chosen to go there, and blam, I hit him, hit the wall, just ran out of room.
There's been a lot of talk about the white line because Sam Hornish hit the white line and seemed to spin there. Sarah Fisher, do you think with the cold tires and the white line that can be a problem?
No, not at all. It's not a white line thing or anything like that. It's just not getting up to speed, and everybody's still trying to get up to speed. You don't have any downforce in the car when you're running behind the other guy, and your tires, you know, these tires are what we qualified on, so they've sat for a couple weeks, and so that's it. I mean, you're just not up to speed in order to give the car downforce in order to have grip.
Thank you, Al. Bob, back to you.
Jack what's with Robbie Gordon's odd line down the straightaway here at times?
Well, in checking with A.J. Foyt's crew, they say there's nothing wrong with that Conseco car. Instead, they say all Robbie wants to do is play a little mind game on Greg Ray.
And he is one of the best at that, I might add. Here is Dismore looking to the inside of DeFerrin for third. Cannot make the move. This race, Larry, is so reminiscent of 1992. The weather just about today, just about like it was back then. We had 13 caution periods during that race for 85 laps. Let's hope that we don't have nearly that many today, but it certainly reminds me of 92.
Well, once you get about 4 or 5 laps on the tires, then they are up to heat, so you shouldn't have any problems. They can't use the cold tires for an excuse after that. But those first 2 or maybe 3 laps are very critical, and you got to be a little bit careful. Obviously, they thought they were being careful. They just weren't quite careful enough.
Bob Jenkins, some of the crew chiefs are telling their drivers about 1992 and reminding them that back then, 20 of the 33 starters were involved in an incident or had an engine failure. The temperature on that day, 52 degrees at the green flag just a moment ago. It was 62 today, just barely above it.
The first 4 cars are running very close together on the racetrack, as you can see. Then there's about a 5-second separation back where we find Lyondike, Ward, Buell, Stewart, Castroneves, and Vassar completing the top 10. And here is a move being made, and that is Ward going to the inside of Lyondike and picking up 5th.
Yeah, it appears that Lyondike might be holding up that group of cars just slightly as Ward moved to the inside. The passing zones are going into turn 1 and going into turn 3 here. You get that run, and then now it looks like he's going to get another run.
That is Robbie Buell who will try to take the position, and he will at the end of the straightaway going into turn number 1. So move Buell up into 6th position. That's Helio Castroneves now right behind Ari Lyondike.
Now, Lyondike's obviously not working quite as well as he wants, and several guys have gotten a run on him and made that pass going into the corner.
You know, he was talking a bit to me this morning about being patient in the early part of this race and being careful and not wanting to get gathered up to any incidents. Maybe just the fact that Ari's taking it easy and saving it for the second half of the race.
A very smart race driver, one who has won here twice at Indianapolis. Lyondike now back in 7th position. Now you'll notice on the Team Penske cars that there is no Marlboro on the side of the car, their regular sponsor in the Card Series, because of the tobacco settlement that came a while back. They can only run that in the Card Series. This is a race sanctioned by the Indy Racing League, and therefore Marlboro had to come off. There is the captain, Roger Penske, looking for his 11th victory here at Indianapolis today. And here is Castroneves, and he takes that spot from Lyondike. So Ari has fallen back now to 8th position, and Tony Stewart will be trying to move up 1.
Bob Jenkins, Ari Lyondike has developed a push, and that's why he's going backwards instead of forwards, and he's losing some positions on the racetrack. Otherwise, though, they say it's not a bad push, but it's not something that makes the car comfortable and worth gambling on this early in the race. Jack Carruth?
Well, Vince, if there's a push in Lyondike's car, Jeff Ward's car, on the other hand, is very, very loose, especially in the corners. Larry Rice, you know that if you're loose, that means the back end hits before the front end.
And that is a condition you don't want here. It's very difficult to tell when a car is loose because a lot of times they'll get loose on you and jump out from under you before you even realize it. It's much easier for the driver if the car has a push in it.
Ooh, some close competition there as they were lapping Buddy Lazier on the racetrack, but everybody got through nicely. There is Greg Ray, who is the leader of this race, as 32 laps have been completed, about a 1.13 second lead. More after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Indianapolis News on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
They're the top 5 with 36 laps completed at Indianapolis. Aerial coverage of today's race is brought to you by Monster.com, sponsor of Monster Sports Jobs on ESPN.com. The Monster.com blimp overhead in partly cloudy skies here this afternoon. Well, here is Greg Ray, the leader of the race, with about a 2.5 second advantage on Robbie Gordon. Gilles DeFerrin has moved to 3rd, and Mark Dismore running in 4th with Ward in the 5th spot.
There you see DeFerrin. As it appears that Dismore has gotten around it. Well, that wasn't There's
Dismore right
behind
there.
him. I apologize.
As he makes a move on some of the slower traffic. Right now we have 22 cars that are on the lead lap. And when you look at your scoring box up there in the upper left, if you see arrows, it indicates they're moving up or down. Here you see the 22 cars on the lead lap. Buddy Lazier has had problems and has been into the pits on numerous occasions. Jacques Lazier is out there, but only has first gear, we understand. Well, coming up next, top athletes including NFL players Terrell Owens, Ray Lewis, and Jesse Armstead, plus Olympic medalist Alberto Tomba, match speed, strength, skill, and everything else in the Snapple Superstars. That's coming up next after our coverage of the Indianapolis 500.
Just ahead of Jill DeFerrin there, who's in the white car, is Davey Hamilton, who drives for Sam Schmidt Motorsports. And they just put together a deal last night at 9 p.m. for a new sponsor on their car. And now it's the MyJack car now. And I know that Scott and Davey were real excited about their new sponsorship and looking forward to a good association there.
DeFerrin got around him okay. Now here comes Mark Dismore, who's running in 4th spot, coming up on Davey Hamilton, who continues to be the only driver who has started every race since the Indy Racing League began. And Eddie Cheever Jr. comes in for a pit stop.
Eddie Cheever getting his first pit stop of the day. He's come from 25th starting spot to 11th. No adjustments, just 4 sticker tires. Eddie very pleased with the handling of the car. Not a single push. Coming from the right rear tire. They're losing valuable time here into the green flag. Still can't get the wheel nuts hot. He lost an extra 3.8 seconds with that problem.
Infinity-powered cars started this race today. One of them is already eliminated in the accident involving Scott Goodyear. Eddie Cheever Jr. is another one, and Robbie Buell also has the Infinity power here in the race.
Yeah, you can hear his crew chief there saying, we're fine, hang in there, hang in there. Let's not forget, it's a long race, guys. We still got 159 laps to go.
Well, you have a tendency to get real excited and real mad when something like that happens.
Here is Mark Dismore taking the position away from DeFerrin.
And that was a textbook pass like we talked about prior to the race. He pulled beside of him and just blew him off going into the corner. DeFerrin had to give him the pole.
You asked what happened to Robbie Gordon. He wasn't running up there in the top 3 or 4. That's because he's making his first scheduled pit stop, and it comes on lap number 41 to match the number on that car owned by A.J. Foyt. Gordon throws out the water bottle. They're trying to get
with the fueling
rig. It looks
rig.
like they're having trouble with the fueling mechanism.
Oh, man, that's very costly. He's not getting any fuel in there. They can't get the fuel to go in. They've been finished doing the tires for about 10 seconds now. They had to reinsert the fuel.
And the clock now at 30 seconds and counting as Gordon continues to sit on pit road. And finally, 34.1 seconds after he stopped, he gets the car rolling again, but it's a very costly stop.
Tex will be working on that refueler right away. I guarantee you he'll be down there. He's madder than a hornet right now.
There will be no changes on Mark Dismore's car, but he is a little concerned. Remember, Greg Ray, who leads this race, is scheduled to come in. They put the car back in gear. In 11.4 seconds, Dismore is away. Expect Greg Ray next lap.
And that would mean he would run 44 laps without a pit stop. He is now moving through turn number 2 here. Eliseo Salazar is in for a pit stop. Salazar was running in the top 20.
Well, you can see they changed the front wing quite a bit on that car right there. He wasn't handling the way he wanted.
They keep an eye on Greg Ray's now up the north end of the racetrack. That's Felipe Giaffoni just ahead of him.
He didn't dive in that time. He must be trying to drag out another lap. That's impressive.
This completes lap number 44.
Well, there were a lot of yellow flag laps, but still, you have to be getting over 3 miles per gallon in order to run that many laps. So that's
Larry, one of the advantages that a lot of these teams have this year over years past is there's a special fuel cell within a fuel cell that carries 2 gallons of methanol. When the fuel pressure goes on to 10 pounds, they know they've got 2 gallons left for a lap.
Nicholas Manassian killed his engine on his stop. Here is Gilles de Ferran.
Bob, Gilles de Ferran has not said a word on the radio the entire day. The car is perfect. They just gave it fuel and tires. So far, very strong for Gilles de Ferran on the track and in the pits, 14.2.
Lining up the tires, but you got to get some heat in them before you go out there on the racetrack. And Helio Castroneves comes out right behind him.
Yeah, it's got to be scary for these guys going out on dead cold tires onto this really cold racetrack, man.
Well, that's Nicholas Manassian, and they tried to push start him, but that didn't work. And now here is the leader, Greg Ray, coming in, and he ran 45 laps.
Remember, the mark to beat is 11.6 seconds, set by Mark Dismore. 35 gallons of methanol. No changes for this team. 13 seconds. So from this end of the pits, fellas, Dismore's the big winner. The difference, 3 seconds.
And you add up all the pit stops last year, and you discover that one of the reasons why Juan Montoya had such a good race last year was because he had good pit stops. Not to take anything away from his performance on the racetrack, but he spent very little time in the pits, and I believe that was the fastest we have seen so far today from the Greg Ray team.
And of course, fuel mileage plays a big part. If you don't use as much fuel, it doesn't take as long to put the fuel back in. So the fuel mileage on the Comtech and the Ilmor engines seem to be better than almost anybody else. Comtech is the one that the Target uses. Ilmor is the one Dismore uses.
And Tony Stewart picks up the lead of the Indianapolis 500. The young man who is doing double duty today, competing here at Indy, and then getting on a helicopter, then a jet, then another helicopter, and competing in the Coca-Cola 600 NASCAR Winston Cup race at Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte later tonight.
Wow, some real dicing going on back there. That was pretty close.
So Tony Stewart becomes the third leader so far today. And now he relinquishes the lead to come in for his first scheduled stop.
Go to a quarter-inch gurney and plus 2 turns. 2 turns to wing, plus 2 turns. A quarter-inch gurney. Okay, we're going to give you total downforce. We're going to give you more total. Straight in. That's us right here. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Nice and easy.
Is the wicker bill on the back of the wing. See, he's pulling it out right now. He's going to stick it back in right there. That's what they're changing. That's going to give him more downforce.
Waiting on fuel, ready? Go, go, go.
They put a bunch of turns in the front.
Watch the speed.
They put a bunch of turns into the front wing too, Larry Rice, to try and give him some more grip up front.
But even with all the changes that they made, the pit stop was less than 15 seconds. Michael Andretti has moved up to second position.
Hey, clear pit. Come all the way down. Keep coming. 4 tires. 4 downforce, 4 turns of rear wing and a full turn of front wing. Here we are. Start moving over. Slow down. Slow down. Right under my hand.
And we'll watch the stop by Ari Lyondike.
Bob, they're just going to add some downforce to the car. Other than that, the car has been running fine. We've already reported on the fact he was experiencing some push earlier in the race as well. But now they're just fueling it, replacing the tires. As mentioned, the downforce added, and Lyondike stalls it. Oh, costly mistake in the pits as it stalled, and now they're going to try to refire under the green. This is an unbelievable mistake. It really costs you time.
Big push, big push. Good here, boss. Easy. Watch your speed, watch your speed. Reset your fuel, reset your fuel.
That's a mistake that's made because he hasn't run in 2 years. A little bit of a lapse in concentration. You cannot rest. Even when you make a pit stop, you've got to be concentrated. You've got to be thinking 110% every second you're in this race. That time, he just made a slight mistake that cost him a lot of time on the racetrack.
And Michael Andretti comes back to Indianapolis and is now the leader of the race. He pitted on lap 20, so he is out of sequence with everybody else. However, as Vince Welch told us in the time just before the green flag, that could be a smart decision to pit out of sequence, because really that's a good way for those who started at the mid or rear of the pack to move up toward the front.
Well, he was upset because nobody else came in when he pitted, and he had to pit because of that low tire pressure. But in the end, it could be a blessing.
This is the 6th Indianapolis 500 that Michael has led. His father, Mario, you see there in the upper right box, won the Indianapolis 500 in 1969. We are a fourth of the way through the Indianapolis 500. And here's our Aflac trivia question. Of the 60 Indianapolis 500 winners, what is the most number of races it took to win the race? Think about that for a while, and we'll have our answer a little bit later. Jack Arute has more on Robbie Gordon's pit stop.
Well, you saw that Robbie Gordon had a lot of time to take on fuel. This is the dry brake fueling system that all cars use. It loads the 35 gallons. If you will notice, this is the dry brake area. This area pushes a flat piece that's on the car and makes a solid connection. If you do not apply this squarely, it doesn't make the connection, and therefore you can't let the fuel go in. It took a while for the fueler to realize that that was not happening. And tough brakes for Robbie Gordon.
As a matter of fact, he is just about to get lapped. He will be the next car to go a lap down. If he should be passed, Gordon slips back to 13th position. He is the last car on the lead lap. Michael Andretti leads the Indianapolis 500. Mark Dismore second, and Greg Ray is running third. We'll be right back.
And Monster.com, who reminds you, job good, life good.
56 laps completed at Indianapolis. There are your top 5. Now, when we went away, Michael Andretti was leading the 500. He came in for a pit stop, and that gives the lead to Mark Dismore, and he is the 171st driver to lead at Indianapolis. Glad you could join us on this cloudy and very cool day at the Indianapolis 500. We have several cautions already, and some of the favorites eliminated, including Scott Sharp, the pole sitter. Scott Goodyear is out. So is Sarah Fisher, Al Unser Jr. All of those eliminated in crashes just after this drop of the green flag in Scott Sharp's case.
Now you can see right now, Mark Dismore is stuck behind Felipe Giafoni. The two of them seem to be running pretty similar speeds on the track, but the fastest car on the track right now is Greg Ray in second place, only 2 seconds behind Mark Dismore. This could get interesting real fast, guys.
Down to Jack Arute.
Well, the ever-unfolding and fluid saga of pit road continues, fellas. For both Greg Ray and Mark Dismore, fuel conservation becomes paramount. Check with both crews. They are, at this point, anticipating trying to make this race in just 5, count it, 5 pit stops.
And Dismore now will try to make a move on Felipe Giafoni. He will not pass him. Giafoni is running in 16th position and is the last car on the lead lap.
So he's gonna, he really had to back out of it there, so it's gonna be, oh, man. Wow. You were just riding with the biggest save I've seen in one of those babies for a while.
Wow. It looks like when he gets in the dirty air, when he gets up too close to Giafoni, he just loses the front end of the car, wouldn't you say, Larry Rice?
Oh, yeah, he was just in that dirty air coming out there. He was too close to him at the wrong spot on the racetrack, and he did a great job hanging on to that thing, because it get 2 wiggles big time. Now, take a look at this. See, he drops down to the inside of him right there. Now, as they go through 3 and 4, he once again tries to come right up on him. He got out of the throttle so he didn't get too close when he was in that dirty air. Look at that. Twice he saved that thing in the same corner.
Boy, that's some impressive driving right there.
Oh, look at that. I don't think I've ever seen one get that far sideways and still keep going straight.
Well, he's still trying to get around Giafoni. Pulls even with him here on the main straightaway, and Felipe will back out of it as Dismore puts him a lap down. 15 cars now on the lead lap.
That's one of the things that all the drivers were discussing, this field being so close that sometimes you have to be patient because you just don't have enough to make a pass, and you have to wait for 4 or 5 laps. And then in the middle of that, have a terrifying experience like that.
Well, patience is certainly going to be a key factor, because if you get behind somebody, he followed Giafoni for probably 6 or 8 laps. He didn't get excited. He was very methodical. He waited till he had a run, and when he did, he took the pass and he made it stick.
Here's a battle for 5th. Castroneves and Buell, and Castroneves gets him on the inside.
Helio Castroneves, Bob, is running very strongly. We just spoke with Dan Luganville, and he said the car has been terrific. They've had no complaints, and also they talked about the fuel mileage. They got a big break in that first segment with all the yellows, but since then it's been dominated by green, so they won't really have a true handle on their fuel mileage until after this segment on this fuel run. Then they'll have a clear understanding of what it'll take to get to the finish.
Well, you've thought about it long enough, we're going to give you the answer. Of the 60 Indy 500 winners, what was the most number of starts it took to win the race? The answer? Well, 12. And that involves Sam Hanks when he drove to victory here at Indy back in 1957.
That was right before A.J. Foyt's first year here in 1958. Isn't that right, Bob Jenkins?
That is correct. As A.J. said in the opening of the show, he came here in 58 and has never left. We're on board with Buddy Lazier, and it's not been a good day for Buddy.
No, it's really unfortunate when you have electrical gremlins like that in your car. It's just really frustrating for the driver and the crews alike.
Running back in 27th position. Our telemetry showing you that he is up in the 210-mile-an-hour category at the end of the backstretch.
Well, obviously, 210 mile an hour is not what it's going to take to win this race. The leaders are all running between 212 and 214, so he's about 4 miles an hour off the pace.
We have had 5 leaders so far in the race. Greg Ray has led 23 laps. Robbie Gordon 22, Mark Dismore 11. He's the current leader. Andretti led 5. Tony Stewart led 1, and so did Arie Luyendyk. But Luyendyk now is a lap down because of the stall on pit road, and he is currently in 18th position. There is Michael Andretti and Robbie Gordon as they're now running in the 8th and 9th positions.
Yeah, Michael Andretti's been the fastest car on the racetrack for several laps. Now he's in traffic, so he's slowed down a little bit.
And that's a pass for position right there, guys. That's Andretti going around Jimmy Vasser, I do believe.
That is the battle for 7th position, and Andretti takes over 7th spot. And now Greg Ray and Gilles de Ferran are contesting the 2nd position.
Well, de Ferran's been slowly catching up with him. The last lap he was 3 miles an hour faster. That's Robbie McGee right in front of them. So what they're going to try to do now is just try to outsmart each other. The first one to get around McGee is going to keep that position probably.
Gilles de Ferran participated in the Phoenix IRL race. And here is Greg Ray now moving to the inside of Robbie McGee.
So in a situation like that, Robbie McGee has got to be really on the ball. He saw him, he got out of the throttle, he went through that corner so slowly that he gave de Ferran a chance to get around him in the middle of the short straightaway.
McGee running a lap down in 15th position. And now de Ferran once again closes in on Greg Ray as Ray encounters some slower traffic up ahead.
You know, guys, Mark Dismore is only about 2.3 seconds ahead of that battle. If these two guys can not battle each other and maybe work together, they could catch Dismore in a hurry, I imagine.
That's Billy Boat that Greg Ray is right behind now. And Jack has an update on Dismore.
Well, Mark Dismore did not receive his race engine until 12 noon yesterday. The folks at Ilmore brought the Delphi Automotive team 2 new race engines based upon what they learned during carburation day. What were the changes that they instituted? Some different clearances to add to longevity for 500 miles, and also trying to come up with better and more effective fuel consumption.
Boy, that in-car camera, Larry, gave us an idea of what the closing rate is sometimes. That was Jacques Lazier that he went around, and obviously Jacques was running a lot slower than Mark Dismore was.
Well, let me tell you, your heart stops beating when you see a car slow that much because you don't know what's wrong, whether he's just pulled out of the throttle or the engine's going away or what, because he closed on him so fast, he just had to move down to the bottom and go around him.
Back to this battle for 2nd and 3rd. That's Greg Ray in blue and Gilles de Ferran in red and white. Well, let's update the stories that we came on the air with. There you see that Roger Penske's drivers are running 5th and 3rd. Arie Luyendyk had some trouble on pit road. Michael Andretti has led this race, and Tony Stewart is running 11th. Sarah Fisher was out early in a crash. Sam Hornish Jr. spun, is still in the race. And that 40% chance of rain continues to loom, but right now it appears that we're going to be able to finish this race without a rain interruption.
Well, after looking at those stories, guys, I'm starting to think that maybe when you come here to the granddaddy of them all, maybe a little age and experience doesn't hurt.
Well, is anybody surprised that Penske's got 2 cars in the top 5?
Not particularly.
Well, for those of you who weren't with us in the pre-race show, Steven Tyler of Aerosmith sang the national anthem. Leslie?
Yeah, we're very cozy up there on the 6th floor of the pagoda. Steven Tyler, have you ever performed in front of a crowd quite like this one?
laps on any given night of any Aerosmith show. It's that same adrenaline.
Were you a race fan before coming here today, or is this new to you?
Not as much as Brad Whitford, Joey Kramer, and Tom Hamilton. They're, you know, Formula One guys. But, you know, I've got a Panos at home and a Super 7 Lotus, so I get my yayas out, you know what I mean?
And he's having a lot of fun as the new sponsor of Jeff Ward's car. You can see Aerosmith on the side of it, the purple car that's out on the track, guys.
Well, and he should watch very closely because the car that he is sponsoring, Jeff Ward, is running up in 4th position and doing a fine job here in the first 70 laps.
Well, and Bob, it's amazing that Ward, in fact, just turned the fastest lap on the track just a few circuits ago at 2:18 plus, and that was right after he had complained that the car was really loose in 1 and 2. So, Larry, you know how difficult it can be when the car's loose in 1 and 2, much less being the fastest on the track.
Well, anytime the race car is loose, as we've said a couple of times, it's very, very uncomfortable for the driver, and you don't want to have to do too many of those saves like we saw Mark Dismore do.
Jeff Ward, though, guys, need I remind you that he was a, you know, motocross champion. I think he kind of likes a loose car. Kind of reminds me back when he was running the Trophy to Nations and
hey guys, Robbie
all those
Buell
championships.
Guys, Robbie Buell in the pits for a scheduled stop. They made a slight wing adjustment and an air pressure change. Buell very pleased with the car. They went back with the wing. The car got a little bit loose as Buell was down and away.
And Robbie Gordon is also in for another pit stop as Mark Dismore continues on the track and in the lead. Now Gordon moves away from his pit stall. This coming on lap number 71 of 200 in the Indy 500.
And he didn't go very many laps. I'm guessing they didn't get a full load of fuel in the last time when they had all that trouble, so he had to pit early.
Here comes Mark Dismore down the front stretch, and we understand that his next scheduled stop will be in 2 laps. It has been 29, make that 30 laps since he pitted last time. Well, for those of you who weren't with us in the pre-race show, we had an incredible feature on him and his dad. A very close relationship between the two. His dad is suffering from cancer. Watching today's race from Mark's home in Greenfield, Indiana, about 20 miles east of Indianapolis. Could this be the day that Mark Dismore brings the win home for Emerson Dismore?
Well, I'm sure. Mark Dismore is a great guy. They have a big party for the 500 out of his hometown every year. He never misses it. It's an Elks Club, I think. He goes there no matter how busy he is. That's how much he really cares about the people of Greenfield.
Now, we heard that little rumble in the engine, Larry, as Mark was at the end of the front stretch. And we'll remind everybody that is a rev limiter.
Yes, there are rev limiters on these cars. They get to the rev limiter, it kind of misses out. It's designed so that it'll miss out. It won't go over 10,700 RPMs. They can do that for quite a while if they have what they call the soft limiter on there, where it doesn't hurt the engine nearly as bad.
Now, Mark Dismore has an 8.5-second lead at the moment over Greg Ray. And here comes Dismore, as we predicted, in for his second stop of the day.
Mark Dismore's crew not only have the T's to hit the marks, they actually have their names affixed to each of them. Expect no changes when Dismore comes in except a change of Firestone rubber and 35 gallons of methanol. But on board, Mark Dismore will also readjust the weight jacker. They had been adjusting on it as the fuel started to go down. Remember, 35 gallons of fuel is about 150 pounds of weight, and at 1,700 pounds, that will change things dramatically. 12.8 seconds for Mark Dismore.
Great work by the Kelly crew.
It certainly was. Remember, there's an 80-mile-an-hour speed limit going down pit lane. They have 6 speed traps, plus guys with stopwatches to make sure you don't exceed that. So the drivers have to be very careful entering and exiting the pits.
And they blend in with traffic out of turn number 2, coming down the backstretch. There now is Greg Ray, who picks up the lead once again, but just a slight advantage at this point over Gilles de Ferran, who's running second. Jeff Ward moves up to third, then Helio Castroneves and Michael Andretti moves up to 5th position. Greg Ray leading for the second time here this afternoon.
And you know what? Donnie Beechler has come from the last row to 8th position.
Good run for Donnie Beechler. Back with more of the Indianapolis 500 in just a moment.
At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, your leader, Greg Ray, is about 100 yards, now 20 yards away from his pit stop. There should be no changes in Greg Ray's track handling situation. But he has to be careful that he doesn't have the same problem befall him as what has just befallen Mark Dismore, who was going back up to the gearbox. Found out that he had lost 5th gear and 6th gear. Greg Ray stopped 12.8, but now Larry Rice, the key is that he doesn't lose those upper gears the way Mark Dismore just did.
Yeah, tough break for Dismore, who was leading, but definitely has a gearbox problem out there. Now, Gilles de Ferran and Jeff Ward have already made pit stops. And Tony Stewart looks like he may have killed it again.
He killed the engine. That's costly. They started. He killed it again.
And a car slow down the backstretch is Nicholas Manassian, it would look like. And now Stewart fires the car and pulls away, and right ahead of him, or right behind him now, is Buddy Lazier as he exits the pits. And Manassian is indeed nearly stopped at the end of the backstretch. He makes the warm-up lane there in turn number 3, but the question is, can he make it around to the pit area?
Well, if he doesn't, it's going to be a big break for Michael Andretti, because he needs a pit stop, and he's leading the race right now.
So we'll see if Manassian can make it around. He's going very, very slowly in the warm-up lane and has yet to reach the short chute at the north end of the racetrack. There is Michael Andretti, who once again picks up the lead of the race, but he has already made 2 pit stops, and he's coming up on pit stop number 3.
Manassian's told his crew that his gearbox is gone, so without a gearbox, he is coasting. So if he doesn't make it down to that pit line, it may bring out the yellow, which would be a huge break for Andretti.
And Larry, let's update you on Mark Dismore's situation. He cannot get the car from 4th to 5th or 4th to 6th. The gear change, or the ratio change between 5th and 6th, only about 50 RPM. But the change between 4th and 5th, to quote Jim Frudenberg, the team manager, it's a big jump. They're going to stay out there because they're not losing time right now. But it remains to be seen if that Ilmore engine can hold up to the pounding.
Yes, he's on that rev limiter very, very hard, much like Buddy Lazier was down at Phoenix, because he's really revving the engine, and that's going to be tough to finish the race being that hard on the engine.
Andretti still following Billy Boat. Boat is listed in 19th position, 1 lap down. And right now we have 7 cars on the lead lap as we await the pit stop by Michael Andretti. And here he comes. 80 miles an hour now. He has to slow down to 80 to run down through this area.
And Bob Goodrich, for those just joining us, we might want to remind the fans that Andretti had to pit on lap 20 because of a cut left rear tire. That's why he is out of sequence. He pitted on lap 20, then lap 53. Now the 38-year-old Indy veteran comes in for what should be a routine pit stop. They don't plan any adjustments. John Kaminsky holds Michael in the pits to get the fuel complete. And he's down and away.
Less than 13 seconds for Andretti.
That was a nice pit stop. They did everything correctly. They didn't really hurry. They knew they had enough time, so they just made the pit stop, did their business, and got back out.
Michael has now led 391 laps in 9 races here in Indianapolis. No one has led more laps here at the Speedway without a victory. Now we're on board once again with Mark Dismore, who is in the lead. But
listen to the engine, Bob. Didn't do it that time.
Well, I think he's feathering the throttle, Larry, to keep it off the rev limiter, because if you leave these engines, as you well know, on the rev limiter for a long time, it tends to bend the valves and hurt all kinds of things in the engine.
Well, it takes a very tender foot to get that thing up and run as fast as he is and still not hit that rev limiter.
He's got about a 7-second advantage on Gilles de Ferran right now.
You hear it just there as he's trying to get around that Target Chip Ganassi car, who's riding the rev limiter pretty hard, Larry Rice.
Jack has more on Gilles de Ferran.
Well, with that last pit stop, Roger Penske leaves nothing to chance. His fueler did not feel like the fuel nozzle to add the fuel felt just right. Roger came over and said, then change it. We've got spares. That is the heartbeat, the main artery to us winning and losing this race.
There's Roger Penske. And Arie Luyendyk has made pit road once again. Luyendyk is in 15th position. This is his 3rd pit stop.
Guys, one thing to...
Again, he kills it.
One thing to remember, guys, this is the first pit stops for Arie Luyendyk in 2 years. He did not race last year, and he stalled it the first time through, and he stalled it here on the third time. It's been a long time since Arie's made some stops in the pits.
He is going to be very, very angry at himself. That was a mistake that he should not have made.
Thursday night, the Stanley Cup Finals are on ABC. You can see the Devils as they try to repeat as champions. The Avalanche versus the Devils. The Avalanche leads 1-0. They won last night. Thursday night, May 31st, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC. Tuesday night's game, 2, will be on ESPN, live at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Wow, that was unbelievable, that pass that Mark Dismore just made.
That was a moment, let me tell you.
Mark Dismore leads the Indianapolis 500 by 6.5 seconds over Gilles de Ferran and Jeff Ward. More after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Speed changes, so we'll get you back to the Brickyard momentarily. Hi, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt. Earlier today, Juan Montoya, the defending Indy 500 winner, last year's winner, he was racing in a Monaco Grand Prix. So we take you to Monte Carlo, where it was a frustrating day for the pole sitter, David Coulthard. His car stalled right from the get-go, so he stalls and falls to the back of the pack. Here comes Juan Montoya. He'll slide out and hit the tire wall. This is the third lap. Montoya out of the race. The day belonged to Michael Schumacher, who crosses the finish line first with teammates Rubens Barrichello 0.04 of a second behind. Schumacher celebrating. Why not? The Formula One champ drives his Ferrari team to a 1-2 finish. Big day at Monte Carlo. Coulthard, after stalling at the start of the race, finishes a respectable 5th. What a finish the race 6 times.
And thank you, Tim Brandt, as we once again rejoin you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, currently under the yellow, but we have been under the green for about an hour after the wildest start we had seen here in a number of years. In fact, you'd have to go back to 1992, the last time it was this cold that we had as many incidents early in the race as we had in 2001. And it all began just seconds after the race commenced, because the pole sitter, Scott Sharp, who had had a perfect month, he had won the pole with a qualifying time of better than 226 miles per hour, just seconds into the race, losing it as he moved to the outside, hits the wall, and as he told his crew on the radio seconds later, fellas, I'm sorry, I'm just so sorry. Out went Sarah Fisher and Scott Goodyear. Sarah went down below the white line, though didn't blame that for this incident. In her words, she said the track is just very, very, very loose, and she took Goodyear out as well. Then on lap 17, it was young Sam Cornish at 21, second only to Sarah Fisher in terms of age in this race. He then took Al Unser out of the race. Ironically, it's Cornish who was able to continue with his damaged machine, but Unser was gone. And then you can see the leader, Mark Dismore, fighting to maintain control of his car coming out of turn 4 with the dirty air. So right now, under the yellow, it is still Mark Dismore leading in this 85th running of the Indianapolis 500. Right now, let's go to Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Al, with the legendary Mario Andretti. And Mario, watching you, it's almost as if you're driving this race. You seem to be very, very nervous and involved.
Well, you know, I'm on the sideline here. I'm a bit tense, but you know, the team is doing a phenomenal job, and they seem to have everything under control. So that's the main thing.
A dad watching his son try to fulfill his destiny. Another Andretti win at Indianapolis. Jack.
Well, Jerry, we continue to listen to the travails of your leader, Mark Dismore. We're talking about the gearbox. Here is a spare gearbox. This is what goes on the back side of the car and provides a translation of the engine and creates the power. They tried to put it into 5th gear, and Dismore is slowing because
Jack,
now...
Yes, Mark Dismore is slowing. As a matter of fact, he is coasting, it would appear, and entering the warm-up lane. So just the very thing that you were talking about, Jack, has apparently caused the gearbox to go completely away.
Here's what happened. Bob, here's what happened. During that caution, they tried to what they call take the dog and move it up into 5th gear. They asked Mark to do so under slow conditions to see if they had that 5th gear. Unfortunately, when he did that, the gearbox totally went away.
Yes, it did, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to make it around to the pit area.
No, he's not going to make it back. You could hear the engine revving. He was trying to get it in gear, but he was gassing it, and the engine was revving and nothing was happening. So a terrible, terrible break. I'm sure his father is as disappointed as all of us are for Mark Dismore right now.
And the car has stopped, and so this caution period will continue until we get Mark Dismore's car off of the racetrack. So both Kelly cars are out of the race as we go to Leslie Goodell.
Well, I'm with Elaine Irwin Mellencamp, who today was the first woman ever to drive the pace car at the start of the race. What was it like for you?
It was so thrilling. I can't really even explain it. It was so thrilling. It went kind of like slow motion. I could go around and could see all those people, and I actually did peek in my rearview mirror, which I swore I wouldn't. Could see the field behind you. It was so thrilling.
Were you more nervous today than you thought you might be?
No, I was surprisingly not as nervous as I thought I'd be, even when I looked in the rearview mirror. But you can hear everything. I had the window down, and it was amazing. It was just kind of like surreal.
You admitted recently that this is one you're just getting associated with racing. Sure, have you turned into a big race fan now?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just addicted to this. It's so thrilling.
Well, she's also got an association with the IRL now. What will you be doing for them?
I'll act as their spokesman. So I'll go out and really just kind of spread their story, because I think it's a great story, and kind of talk about the drivers, give a little more detail and attention to it, because it's just so great. I'm so excited. I just want to share my enthusiasm.
Well, thanks for coming out here, Elaine. Bob?
Elaine Irwin Mellencamp, the first female to drive the pace car at Indianapolis. Well, the word is, Jason, that there may be a few showers in the area. We are 8 laps away from the halfway point. Jerry?
And a lot of concern down here in the Andretti pits, not about how well their car is running, but about the weather. If you look behind me, the clouds are beginning to build. And I heard a moment ago, Barry, I heard you tell Michael the rain is possibly 15 minutes away.
Yeah, that's what it looks like on the radar, and we're obviously concerned about it. It's pretty dark over there, but gosh, what a race he's driven so far. You know, we had to come in early there for a punctured tire where he ran over some debris, and he's driven his way back to second place. A heck of a job.
All right, Michael Andretti will be turning the wick up, Vince.
Jill DeFerrin running third, Helio Castroneves fourth. Roger Penske, the weather seems to be closing. How closely are you watching it?
Well, I know it's a dark cloud over here to my left, but that's why we pitted right now, to be sure we had plenty of fuel in case we have to stretch it. But again, you know, it's a long way to go. Hope they'd stay here and clean up this thing so we could have a full 200 laps.
Have the cars been as good as they seem as they've been?
Cars have been fine. Drivers are just getting in the groove here, so we just got to stay smooth. A lot of good time here. We got to make some time in the next 100 laps.
There is Jeff Ward's car. He has been on pit road for several minutes, Jack.
Well, Mark Dismore, by the way, is going to pull down onto pit road, and we're going to show you these are the gearbox pieces that they are going to try and change as Dismore pulls in, as they call it, dead stick. He has cut the engine. Now the key is to try and take the rear wing off, disengage the rear attenuator that helps in the case of crashes, and then make a complete gear change. And maybe if the weather does slow things down, it could keep Dismore from going 10 or 15 laps down. Instead, maybe only 4 or 5.
According to our helicopter pilot who controls the in-car cameras or provides the signal for the in-car cameras, the rain is 3 miles away, and we have got less than 7 laps before this is an official race. Next time, however, we will be going green. Now, by staying out and not pitting there for a while, and he has since, but Tony Stewart and Jimmy Vasser both made up their laps, because remember, the new rule in the IRL this year is that the pace car picks up the leader of the race, and those who are running ahead of the leader get to encircle the entire track and join the rest of the field at the tail of the field.
And Ganassi's telling Stewart, don't be afraid of the engine. Just go for it. We need to get up front. They've also had a couple of other problems. They put in a little more stagger, but he told him he was fine. Robbie Gordon just pulled in and topped off the fuel, so he wants to be able to make that this run a longer run and stay out there if everybody else has to pit.
There you see the dark clouds that have gathered overhead. Let's see how things turn out. We may be going for the victory of the Indy 500 here in the next few minutes. Well, Greg Ray is the leader of the race now, and he begins to pick up the pace and has a pretty good jump on Andretti, DeFerrin, Castroneves, and Gordon as we are back to racing once again at Indy.
Ray had pitted 15 laps ago, so he's got about 15 laps that he can run. Andretti can run about 20, so both of those guys have a few laps on their pit stop.
And a big gaggle of cars coming back here. That's Billy Boat and Sam Hornish running back there. Boat running in the 11th position. Sam Hornish, of course, was involved in a spin earlier, and he's shown back in 24th as Michael Andretti sneaks right up on the rear wing of Greg Ray, and it may be that Michael Andretti is thinking rain. He's going to want to take the lead away from Ray as quickly as possible because we are 4 laps now. That's lap number 97 complete, and 101 is an official race if it should rain.
While Michael Andretti may think that rain is on his way, but don't be surprised. Greg Ray knows as well. They radioed to Ray that rain is just moments away.
And you better believe that Greg Ray is going to try to hang on to that position, and Michael Andretti is going to do everything he can to get around him. He tried the last time down the back straightaway, but just didn't have enough oomph to get around him. But he's going to try everything now to use that draft and try to get back around Greg Ray.
Greg Ray is tied with Scott Sharp for most number of wins in the Indy Racing League, 5. Of course, Michael Andretti has never won the Indy 500 or an IRL race. This is his first participation in the IRL series. Did have a good run, Larry, but couldn't quite catch up to Greg.
I thought he had a good run coming off the corner, but he never made up much space once he got out on the straightaway. He's maintained about 6 or 8 car lengths back there, and he may have a heck of a time. You know, it's kind of like a dog chasing the car. You can catch him, but then what do you do after you do that?
John Menard has been trying for so long. Menard is the owner for Greg Ray, and he's been trying for so long to win the 500, but never has.
Let's update you on Mark Dismore's situation. The Delphi crew has completed the gear change. He's back out there. Fast work, fellas.
Well, you know, that Kelly crew won the pit stop competition this past week, and those guys are certainly working well as a team, and it's nice to see Mark Dismore back out there in the hunt.
They only lost 6 laps changing that gear. That's very, very fast.
Now coming down this time will be the halfway point. 100 laps completed. But remember, it takes 1 more to make an official race.
And the guys on the radio are telling Michael exactly that. Look at Michael. He dropped way down that time coming off the corner. He's going to try to do it right now because he knows the rain's coming.
Here they come down the straightaway, the halfway point. And it's Greg Ray leading by about 2 car lengths at the halfway point.
Boy, he wants to so bad. He just doesn't have enough power, enough run on him to get up there. Greg Ray's running a very, very fast pace.
And Larry, Barry Green has told Michael Andretti the rain is 1.5 miles from the racetrack. So Michael has nothing left to spare. It's now or never. Rain 1.5 miles away, says Barry Green.
Both of those guys running over 218 miles an hour. Everybody else out there running 215 or less.
And actually, last lap, Michael Andretti was faster than Ray. The leader of the halfway point has won only 6 of the last 24 Indy 500s. We do have an official race now, 101 laps completed. Now we just wait to see if it is going to rain. If not, then we got a lot more racing to go.
And we just felt our first drops on the front straightaway, fellas.
Well, there is 9 laps before Ray has to make a pit stop. He pitted 21 laps ago, so he still has 9 more laps approximately before he has to go in and make a pit stop. Oh, this should be a good run.
The Weather Bureau tells us it's a thin line of showers, but it is a shower nevertheless. And if it rains a great deal, it would take a long time to dry this track and would be, of course, up to the IRL officials to determine whether we should dry the track and try to get the rest of it in or whether it is an official race. But a great battle going on here for the lead. Greg Ray trying to hold off the challenge of Michael Andretti.
That's amazing the way these 2 guys have pulled away from Gil DeFerrin. They've opened up a 10.3-second lead. That's impressive.
Well, they're coming up on some lap traffic, and that's Dismore, who's a very fast car, even though he's about 5 or 6 laps. Oh, he got clear up in the dust there. You think he's not trying to hang on to that lead. Look out.
Oh, look at this. What a run he had, and Michael Andretti takes the lead.
He had to get out of the throttle. I think he got so high he had to get out of the throttle and let Andretti get around him.
Wow.
It's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. He just radioed in. Greg Ray said, I got to get out of the throttle for a split second. Darryl Soppy radioed back, okay, gather it back up and go after him again.
Well, here it is from Greg Ray's onboard camera. We'll show you how he relinquished the lead.
Well, he goes through this corner. He gets very high coming off, and you can see the dust flying. Oh,
he white-walled it.
Man, he sure did. Barely touched it, but that's enough to get his heart started. And when his heart started, he had to lift out of the throttle.
Well, his heart.
And here's the other problem that they now have. They're getting preciously low on fuel. Darryl Soppy has just radioed to Greg Ray. Stay out as long as you can. The rain is coming.
There is Greg, who is now 6.5 seconds behind Andretti and lifting for that short amount of time. Oh, and Greg is getting past, so there may be a problem with that car.
Yeah, he's got some sort of a problem because he's really getting blown away now. He's really slowed up.
He actually may have bent something when he hit the wall there. I mean, it didn't look like much from here, but that may have been enough to bend one of the control arms at the back of his car.
Well, Gilles de Ferran has picked up second. Robbie Buell moves to third. Castroneves fourth. Stewart fifth. As a matter of fact, Greg Ray has dropped way down to the 8th position now.
Yeah, he's going to have to come in and fix whatever's wrong because he's way, way off the pace. Oh, that looked like Beechler. Almost caught him coming off the corner. I saw Jared Schrader in the Amvet's car. He was slowing way down, too, going down the main straightaway the last time by.
And we do have reports of rain and some locations around the racetrack.
Bob Jenkins, Michael Andretti is not saying it's raining. He is screaming it's raining as we begin to feel the raindrops. And of course, most time when you're leading the race, it is raining. But you want this thing to be halted. But Andretti is now, we feel the raindrops up here in the Andretti pits. Jackaroo?
Well, Jerry, Greg Ray gave a valiant effort, but when he white-walled that outside retaining barrier, they now think the crew thinks that he may have bent slightly some of his suspension pieces.
Well, that's what we suspected. Now, Michael Andretti comes up on a whole bunch of slower traffic here. There's Leslie. We do see some rain on the camera lens, but so far, no caution. The green remains out. Now, they have numerous observers around the racetrack, and when one determines that it is raining hard enough to bring out the caution, and there it is, the caution is out. And we have an incident on the racetrack.
Car 39 is your leader. Pace car is coming across the start and finish line. Hold out.
Well, that's John Herb, one of the rookies here in Indianapolis, has crashed against the wall and destroyed the right side of his car. Waves to the fans, though, as he comes to a halt.
Wow, a lot of presence of mind to do something like that. He's got to be extremely disappointed. Young man, John Herb, got in the fence very hard with the right side.
Well, you wonder if what caused this crash was the rain. Maybe it's starting to get, well, maybe, I don't think so.
He came up on a slower car, and as he got to that slower car, he turned to the right to try to miss him. Looked like he might have just barely touched him, but when he turned to the right, he just went right straight into the fence.
Now, that's unfortunate for John Herb.
Yeah, that really was no fault of his. As he headed down into that corner, let's take a look at it in slow motion. You can see as he heads down that corner, something happened to the car in front of him. He did touch the left rear to the right rear, his left front to the right rear of that car in front of him.
That was Greg Ray.
It does look like Greg Ray. I think you're right.
Yeah, that was Greg Ray.
Well, John Herb is out of the car, and he's saluting the fans. Jack?
Well, that was indeed Greg Ray. In fact, John Herb radioed to his crew and said the closing rate was just so strong. He snuck up on me. I had nowhere to go. The he that he was referring to was Greg Ray.
Field is under caution. And here, once again, is the incident. There's the contact between Herb and Greg Ray, sending John Herb straight into the wall.
Yeah, Greg Ray had moved up. He was the second groove out, trying to stay out of everybody's way because he's running so slow. Herb just closed so fast that he misjudged and went to the outside instead of the inside.
We go to Greg Ray's in-car, real time, and we'll see that Greg Ray did indeed feel this bump.
Riding along with Greg Ray as he enters down into turn one. You can see he's off the pace. He's way up on the racetrack. He's a groove out. Oh, you can see it, though. He got hit fairly hard to shake him like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that right rear wasn't bent before, I'll bet you money it is now.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Michael Andretti is reporting that he ran over a lot of debris down there from that accident, which doesn't sound too good. He might be worried.
It's been an interesting Indy 500 indeed, and we're only 8 laps past the halfway point. Now the pits are open, and so we will be seeing some pit stops. There are 8 cars on the lead lap at the moment, and they are coming down for service. Some of them are.
Jimmy Vasser's in, Tony Stewart's in, Sam Hornish just exited the pits.
And we understand that Michael Andretti, the leader of the race, will be coming in next time by.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We're hearing that the Penske guys may not stop.
That's exactly right, Larry. In fact, they've just decided and been talking about the fact that they are going to stay out. Gilles de Ferran, for instance, stopped on lap 91, so they've got plenty of fuel, and they're going to choose, at least at this point, to stay out.
Well, the old guessing game starts really hard right now because you're guessing on whether it is going to rain, because with 17 laps, that means they can only run about 13 more before they have to pit. If they don't pit and it doesn't rain, then they're going to be at a disadvantage.
It's a interesting call that will be made as to whether to
and
it
Bob,
is indeed a roll of the dice, Jerry.
Bob, that is the discussion down here in the Michael Andretti pits for Kim and Barry Green. They talked about calling him in a moment ago, and now they have made the decision, yes, we are going to bring him in this lap. They said this sprinkle should go south of the racetrack, and they're hoping that they can bring him in this time by and make a pit stop and not worry about the weather. Get this thing completed to 200 laps.
Well, he has pitted 24 laps ago. That means if they go green, he can only run another 5, 6, 7 laps. So he really, you know, that's a real crapshoot. If you know it's going to rain, it's one thing, but they're just not real sure.
Fuel position.
There is Michael Andretti making the left turn onto pit road, and so he relinquishes the lead here on the 109th lap of the race.
It is pouring out now.
And he's saying it's pouring, and
on the mark. Reset your fuel, on the mark. Get out there and blend, Line speed limit.
so their work is done on Michael Andretti's car, and he will indeed blend in with the rest of the field, blending in right beside Greg Ray, as a matter of fact, and other cars that are in the warm-up lane.
The warm-up lane looks like it's got a rush hour going on out there.
Tomorrow, Ricky Martin, Christina Aguilera, Shaggy, Nelly Furtado, and many more celebrate the World Music Awards. You can see it tomorrow at 9, 8 Central, here on ABC. 109 laps completed here at the Indianapolis 500. Gilles de Ferran now the leader of the 500.
The 85th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC Sports, brought to you by Infiniti, makers of innovative high-performance luxury vehicles. Your neighborhood 7-Eleven store. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Advil, nothing you can buy is proven to work better than Advil. And Mobile One, nothing outperforms Mobile One.
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with former Indy 500 Rookie of the Year Larry Rice and Jason Priestley, who has driven cars in competition for 9 years, and the Indy 500 is never just another race. We have seen accidents, and now we have rain. Not a hard rain. There was talk just a few moments ago going red and stopping this race, but now they've decided to stay out there, and so we still don't know if the decision made a few minutes ago to bring Michael Andretti in is a good one or a bad one.
Well, it's a crapshoot. You could lose either way you go on something like that. So, you know, you might as well take the chance. Everybody's saying it's only a light rain. That tells me that they'll go ahead and try to finish this race. If they do, then he's got an advantage over the Penske team, because they're going to have to pit in about 10 or 11 laps.
Emotion is the key word here in Indianapolis, Jason. I mean, we saw the heartbreak of Scott Sharp, the pole sitter, when he went out. And we've also seen several other drivers drop out of competition, but there are about 5 guys right now that are still thinking, hey, I can win this race.
Oh yeah, I think we got 5 or 6 guys that are still in contention, and that makes it, it's going to make for a very dramatic finish. One of the things we've seen today, you know, we always talk about the fact that auto racing is a team sport. I think that what's happened today, and particularly in the last few laps, with the, is it going to rain, is it not going to rain, should we pit, should we not pit, it's really shown that it really is a team sport, and not only in what they do in the pits, but also how a lot of guys have input in what they're going to do, and they have to figure it out as a team. I find very interesting myself.
Down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Barry Green owns this team and had the difficult call of whether you bring Michael in or not. Barry, you're leading the race. It's raining, and yet you opt to pit. I mean, I guess you're hoping this is a brief shower?
Well, that's what we're hoping. You know, we're just looking up and trying to decide whether it's going to stick with us or not. But, you know, it's still a long way to go, and we don't think the race is going to be cool. We still had to protect, though. We're over half tanks. We'd used 20-some gallons already racing hard there at the front with Greg. And you know, we had to protect against the fuel we'd already used. So we still think we made the right call. We think this race is going to run a lot longer yet. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed.
A moment ago, Michael said, Barry, I pray to God you're right. And Barry replied, I pray with you, Michael. Vince?
Well, if not, then Gilles de Ferran's going to be the beneficiary. De Ferran right now in the lead, driving for Roger Penske. De Ferran reported that the track is very slippery in turn 3, and it was raining harder there. But one of the things about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is it is so big that it could be a light sprinkle here on the front straight and be raining harder on the backstretch. The Penske pilot, who is here in the track but is in touch with flight services, says it's clear to the west. There should be no more rain once this slight shower passes. Jack?
Well, Vince, when you're a team like the Purex team for Dryan Reinbold and Robbie Buell, you may not have a corporate pilot to advise you, but you do have a 19-inch TV. Robbie Buell suggested to the team, go turn over to the Weather Channel so we can take a look at what the radar is. They just radioed back, Robbie, we're going to be okay.
Showers have been very scattered here for the past few days, and that appears to be the situation we're in right now. Well, Jerry Punch, Richie Hearn is standing by as a relief driver.
And Bob, there are probably 500,000 people here who don't want to see it rain, but here's one of them who wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a shower. Richie, I guess you would climb in this car if Tony Stewart had to leave and bail for Charlotte.
Yeah, well, that's the plan, and you know, I think that it would happen at any time in the race because I'd like to see the car out there, and you know, Tony's still on the lead lap, so if they stop the race now, I'd be able to get back out there and run in the lead lap and you know, try to move up for him.
I'm told that Tony's just been biding his time. The car's a lot better than he's shown here in the first 100 laps or so.
Yeah, I've been listening to him on the radio, and you know, he hasn't really complained too much. He's just kind of just staying out of trouble, and you know, that's what you got to do here, and you know, sprint the last 50 miles. But you know, it's raining now, but I don't think it's going to rain hard enough for me to get in the car. You know, I can't control the weather, but I appreciate Target Chip Ganassi giving me the chance to at least hope for it. So we'll see what happens.
The more it rains, the more this man smiles. Bob?
Well, coming up next, top athletes, including those from the NFL and other forms of sports, including Olympic medalists, will match their speed, their strength, and their skill. It's the Snapple Superstars coming up after our coverage of the Indy 500. Leslie Goodell is with Jeff Ward.
Jeff, can you tell us what happened and why you're here in the garage right now?
One of the input shafts threw all the grease out, I think, and then overheated. It just spins it down the front straight. I felt a big giant wiggle. I thought the wing maybe broke or something. So, you know, I came in, but the Heritage team's done a fantastic job, and you know, I'm just unfortunate. I think we had the best car out there. The car was absolutely, or the best car I've had here at Indy, and it's definitely capable of winning. And I was, you know, pretty conservative just running up front, so we had a lot left at the end, and that's hindsight. So we're pretty disappointed, but the crew did a great job, and the Menard motor was fantastic, and so was the G-Force chassis. So it's next year.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Bob?
Tough break for Jeff Ward, who is out of competition.
Larry Lyondike, this is Larry Rice. You got a copy?
I hear you, Larry.
What is the racetrack right now?
I think this is going to blow over. As it was coming down earlier, you know, I think they should have thrown the yellow light just a little bit sooner. It was pretty wet on my shield, so I just backed out of it because no need taking chances if you're running in 20th place anyway. So we'll just have to wait for the track to dry.
What about the 20th place? You had to kill the engine a couple times. Clutch problems?
My biggest problem is getting out of the pit. That has cost me, I'm sure, the laps that I'm behind. My speed is not fantastic, but it's pretty good. My car is good. It's not great, but I just have tremendous troubles coming out of the pit. I do not have a good feel for the clutch, and I'm getting real nervous to go into the pit because it might happen again. So we'll see. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try and leave the pits as slow as possible to at least get out of it right away.
Okay, man, have a good run.
That's Ari Leyendijk, who is indeed running in 18th position at the moment. Gilles de Ferran is the leader of the 85th running of the 500.
Come on, baby, take a ride with me. I'm up from Indiana down to Tennessee. Everything is cool as can be in a peaceful world. Lay back the top and ride with me. I'm up from Indiana down to Tennessee. Everything is cool as can be. Come on, baby, take a ride.
Welcome back to Indianapolis. Aerial coverage of today's race brought to you by the Monster.com blimp, sponsor of Monster Sports Jobs on ESPN.com. The Monster.com orange blimp flying overhead.
There are a lot of people know this, Bob, but that's actually how I got my job here on ABC. I went to Monster.com. I put in I wanted to be a sports announcer, and look, here I am sitting here with you guys.
Well, there's where the media center is here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the World Complex. That's where all the information that is disseminated to members of the media comes from. Now, here are the fastest laps today. And look, Michael Andretti has 4 of the top 10 fastest laps, including the fastest of all, which came on lap 100, 2:18.961.
That's when he was standing up in the seat trying to get around Greg Ray.
We're still under caution here because of some raindrops that are falling, although in some portions of the racetrack, the sun is shining. There is Michael Andretti, who gave up the lead to make a pit stop. He's now shown his 4th. Gilles de Ferran is the leader of the 500, 116 laps completed. We have had 7 leaders today. Greg Ray has led the most laps, 40. However, he is running now in the 5th position. And you know, it takes a lot of people to put on an Indianapolis 500, and our hats off to producer Bob Goodrich and director Drew Esikoff for their hard work, and in fact, all of those involved with the telecast. There are a lot of people that have to stand out in the rain, whether it be rain or cold weather, but thanks to everyone. And we'll have more of the Indy 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Greg Ray has decided to make a pit stop, and there is the crew working on that car, but it's more than a routine pit stop. Now down to Jack Arute.
And they are checking for that suspension damage on Greg Ray's car. In the meantime, Robbie Buell pitted out of sequence, came in early because he knows they're going back to green, and eventually both Castroneves and de Ferran will have to pit. He hopes he'll find himself back up towards the front.
Roger Penske's drivers are running 1st and 2nd as we go back to racing here in Indianapolis on lap 119. Gilles de Ferran leads. Helio Castroneves is 2nd, then Michael Andretti, followed by Greg Ray, make that Robbie Gordon, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Vasser, and then Robbie Buell running 7th, and Ray would be the last car on the lead lap, although he sits on pit road, so he's going to go a lap down also.
He was gambling on the rain. He stayed out there thinking if it rained, I'm going to finish the top 10. Now that it hasn't, they're going to have to work on that suspension.
Leslie, let's talk to John Herb, who crashed not too long ago.
Well, Bob, the good news is he's okay. I asked him about the ice pack on his shoulder. He says he's saving that for his margarita later on. But you want to talk about the crash and tell us what happened?
Yeah, you know, I came into one. I had a run on Davey Hamilton. Moved inside. I was wide open on the gas. 6th gear. Got into the corner. I was already covering the brakes, you know, once I got position on Hamilton. But Greg Ray must have had a problem. He was down low in the groove, running real slow. I was closing on him over 100 miles an hour and tried to woe it up, tried to move high and get around him. He came off the bottom and we made contact, and that put me up in the wall. It's a shame. Feel bad for the crew, bad for Epson and International Star Registry. You know, the life shirt guys who are working the life shirt today. I mean,
You can talk about that. What is this life shirt?
Well, it measures my heart rate as well as all my breathing. It's got encephalograms that go around my chest and my stomach and measure my volume of air that I take in and how it rises and falls. But, you know, it's just a shame for the team. I feel bad for the guys because we were working according to the plan, and it was time to get on and start moving up. But, you know, something like this happens, it takes you out. I just feel bad. I'd like to say hi to Lincoln Elementary kids out there and all my ARCA buddies.
They don't get the information on his vital signs until they download it. I can't imagine what it's going to look like shortly after he had that crash, Bob.
Sam Hornish made a pass a while ago on on Castroneves. That's Donnie Beechler, who's running back there in second. He's trying to get his lap back and get back on the lead lap.
There's Ari Lyondike. And an update on Greg Ray from Jackaroo.
About for 21 years, John Menard has been coming to the Indianapolis 500 in hopes of winning. Today it will not be. Greg Ray has suffered some right front suspension damage. He's still on pit road. They're going to try and effect the changes and send Ray out many laps down.
And so the man who has led most laps here today will not win the Indianapolis 500, that being Greg Ray.
Well, a lot of battling going on back here in the pack. You see Lyondike right there. He's still running pretty fast. He said the car wasn't handling great, but it wasn't handling bad. So he's hanging in there, even though he's clear back in 18th or 19th position right now.
And he's running laps around 214 miles an hour, whereas those up in front are in the 218 and 219 mile an hour range. Now there are the drivers who have increased their positions. Michael Andretti up 18 from his start. Donnie Beechler up 19. Also Aliseo Salazar. Both of those drivers, Beechler and Salazar, are A.J. Foyt drivers. Billy Boat has moved up 21, and Felipe Giafoni, who began from the last position, has moved up 21 positions since the beginning of the race. There's Michael Andretti's speed down the front stretch, 222 plus miles an hour, and Michael Andretti is in third position with 76 laps to go in Indianapolis. Gilles de Ferran leads the 85th running of the 500.
Refreshing. FedEx. This is a job for FedEx. At Target, expect more, pay less. And Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile dealers.
Gilles de Ferran leads the Indianapolis 500, and there you can see he's at number 66. 68 is Helio Castroneves. He's in second, and in third position is Michael Andretti. That's how much they're separated on the track. Statistically, 2.09 separate first and second, and then 8.68 seconds from first back to third. Watching Tony Stewart, who is now running in fourth position, about 10.3 seconds behind the leader of the race, Gilles de Ferran.
Yeah, and he's been running some pretty quick laps, but de Ferran and Castroneves have been running in the 218, 219 mile an hour bracket. But they have less fuel than the other guys, so with less fuel, they should be able to run just a little bit quicker. They're going to have to pit. We were just told that de Ferran is going to pit on lap 137, which is about 8 laps from now.
One of the things, too, Larry, is the fact that de Ferran running out in front of the pack should get some better fuel mileage. And it's been a tough task to get a handle on the fuel mileage here today because they've run so many laps under yellow. But during their one full green segment, de Ferran had 34 laps in his tank. So that's about a mile, about a gallon per lap here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Well, we will have a complete recap of this Indianapolis 500. You can see it Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2. It's a 1-hour special. We'll feature an interview with the winner and highlights from the greatest spectacle in racing. And we have seen so many highlights already and still have 69 laps remaining. It all began at the beginning of the race when, after receiving the green flag from the pole position, Scott Sharp ran down in turn number 1 and crashed. We had numerous crashes in the early going, including one that took out Sarah Fisher and Scott Goodyear. Scott, by the way, is undergoing x-rays at Methodist Hospital. We don't have an update on him, but the RX are ringing because he did complain of some back pain. And we had some rain at the halfway point that caused some real strategy regarding whether or not the race would be stopped by rain. But right now the Weather Bureau tells us that we should be clear the rest of the afternoon. We should not be threatened by rain until the race's conclusion.
And Michael Andretti has been told to run in 5th gear. They told him they got to put some more pressure on these Penske cars, so he switched to 5th gear.
And Gilles de Ferran just put Robbie Gordon a lap down, which I think is just unbelievable. I mean, Robbie's car's been running well all day, and he started from the front row. That's just unbelievable. These two Penske cars are really hooked up, and these two drivers are just driving the wheels off.
Yes, they are. They've had a pretty quiet month all in all, but boy, when it comes race day, these guys are ready.
And Robbie Gordon is on pit road as they refuel and change the 4 tires on that car. All tires, of course, supplied in the Indy Racing League by Firestone, the Firestone Firehawk tires. And we have a crash. That is Corey Witherill.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that he made a contact, but the tires are flat, at least the right rear is.
Well, you slide very far with the wheels locked up at 200 miles an hour, you're probably going to have a flat tire or two. And it looks like you're right. He does at least have one. Doesn't appear to be any damage to the rear end, at least to the left rear corner that we're looking at.
Witherill is a full-blooded Navajo Native American, and the Navajo Nation gave him a native name not too long ago, one with a fast horse. And with it, he says, that's why he made the Indianapolis 500.
This is a huge break for the Penske team. They had run 43 laps since their last pit stop, so they were going to have to stop very quickly. Now then, they're going to be able to stop under the yellow. You can see right there, he just did a spin. Look at the cars behind him. What a great job those guys did. He was going low, he was going high.
Oh, man.
That's right.
Folks, they're going 200 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you've got a car right in your path. Let's watch this.
Whoa, look at those guys smoking their tires. I mean, they went from 200 down to about 120 there in a hurry, but they did miss him. That's a good job.
Corey Witherill from Santa Monica, California, steps out of the car and is in good shape. Picked up sponsorship from Radio Shack on that car. He's only participated in one IRL race. That was at Atlanta earlier this year. We'll take a break and be back with more live coverage from Indianapolis. Still under caution here at Indianapolis. While we were away, we had some pit stops. Watch the rush out of the pits. That's Castroneves right behind Farron, but Michael Andretti and Tony Stewart come very close to colliding.
And I'm going to tell you, let's take another look at it from a different angle. There's DeFerrin coming out. Castroneves tries to beat his teammate out, and when he does, he pulls right out in front of Stewart. Stewart slams on the brake, and Andretti, I think, does actually run into the back. And Stewart is so mad he could fist fight somebody right now, I guarantee you.
Let's take a look. Oh, you can see, yeah, there was evidence that he did make contact with
that's
Stewart.
A tough break for him, but aerodynamically, we're just going to have to wait to see how bad that hurts him. So it could be a big, big deal for Michael Andretti.
Here's Jackaroo.
Well, when all of that unfolded, the one man that was in total control was Roger Penske, who calls the shots for Gilles DeFerrin. Helio Castroneves started to pull out, and all Roger said is, go, 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 Vince Welch. And that's exactly what Gilles DeFerrin did.
Well, and Tony Stewart got out very quickly, got out in front of Michael Andretti, in fact, on that stop. And then, Chip, was there actually contact made? It looked as though there was.
Yeah, apparently there was down there. You know, they told us in the meeting that that's against the rules to pull straight out. Looked like DeFerrin didn't have anywhere to go but straight out, fighting with his teammate down there. And we got hit. We checked up and got hit from behind. I mean, it's incredible.
It's been a comfortable race so far. And Tony Stewart just radioed in and said, it took me 135 laps to remember how to do all of this. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
And the discussion is ongoing here in the Michael Andretti pits. Barry Green, Kim Green, Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti, they've all been talking about what they should do here. And apparently they are going to leave Michael out. They had the spotters look very closely at the front wing. They saw the damage that we all saw at home from the contact with Tony Stewart. And they figured the wing should be okay. And again, they said should, but I'm not sure that they're very sure.
Tony Stewart is now leading the race, and I think he was put there by the IRL officials because they were told to stay in that inside lane. They pulled out, they blocked him, so I think they were penalized for that, and they put Tony Stewart. That's right, they pulled out into the high-speed lane, so that's what they're being told from race control. So Tony Stewart was put in front of the pack.
That's exactly right, Larry. And Chip Ganassi was very upset when that incident first happened because he was recalling that rule, and he was voicing his concern with the Indy Racing League officials. They came back to him and said, your driver will be placed in front of the 68, and immediately Ganassi radioed that to Tony Stewart, who was obviously very pleased to hear that news.
Back to racing at Indianapolis on lap 140, 60 to go. Tony Stewart leads the Indy 500. What a story this is going to be, but look at DeFerrin and Castroneves chasing him closely.
Andretti right behind back there in fourth, so we'll find out very quickly if that wing does hurt him any. It'll take a couple of laps, but right now it appears like he's keeping up quite well.
And that's Robbie Buell back in fifth, and Vassar, Junqueiro, Gordon, and Beechler gets back on the lead lap. Now 9 cars on the lead lap, and Michael Andretti has just taken third position from DeFerrin.
Well, it looks like that wing isn't slowing him down much at all. Actually, that's good to see, because I'd hate to see his race end with some more of that Andretti luck.
Let's see who's fast out there. As they hit the line, we'll show you their speeds. There's Stewart. And Michael Andretti is the fastest car on the racetrack. And Robbie Buell is second. And we must remind people that Buell is driving one of those Infinity engines. Only 3 of them started the race. Everybody else in an Oldsmobile Aurora engine. But an Infinity is showing very, very well here today in 5th spot.
Well, he's done a good job with that Infinity all month long. Right now, he's the one guy that's putting a little pressure on the Penske cars and Michael Andretti.
Eddie Cheever Jr., of course, drives an Infinity. He's shown in 26th position. And the update on the other Infinity driver, Scott Goodyear, is that he has received the fracture of the lower back. They did some x-rays and determined there was a fracture of the lower back, and so he will be admitted to Methodist Hospital.
Well, Tony Stewart's hanging on to that lead quite handily right now. It appears that Castroneves is just kind of hanging on right behind him, just willing to follow right now and really make a move towards the lead.
And here comes Robbie Buell up on Gilles DeFerrin.
DeFerrin's car has not run well since the pit stop. He's lost 2 positions in the last several laps. So DeFerrin now moves back to 5th spot. Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we are 141 laps into the 200-lap Indy 500. Tony Stewart is the leader of the race. We have had 7 different leaders. Greg Ray has led the most laps, 40, but Ray right now is not in contention for the win. As a matter of fact, he is back in 20th position. Mark Dismore led 29. Gilles DeFerrin has been up front for 27. Robbie Gordon 22. Andretti 16. Ari Dyendijk led a lap, and Stewart is now at 7 and counting. But Helio Castroneves is right behind him.
You were wondering, fellas, if there was a problem with Gilles DeFerrin because he seems to have slowed. Well, the crew's wondering as well, but thus far, DeFerrin has been silent on the radio since the pit stop.
Castroneves right now seems to be just a little bit quicker. He pulled up very close to the back end of Stewart on that last lap, and then decided just not to make that try to make that pass at that point.
And it looks like Robbie Buell is catching up to Michael Andretti, too. We're going to have battles all over the track, guys.
Last lap, Castroneves was almost 2 miles an hour faster than Tony Stewart, and we hear there are sprinkles in turn 2.
Well, this certainly makes this a whole new guessing game if it is raining. Although it doesn't appear that the clouds are very thick. You know, rain on the racetrack makes it very, very iffy for the guys that are out there.
Watching Tony Stewart and Helio Castroneves running 1st and 2nd here at Indianapolis.
And guys, Chip Ganassi just spoke with one of the Indy Racing League observers and said, tell him it's raining in 4. Stewart had radioed in and said it was raining, and we are getting some sprinkles here on the front straight as well.
It's amazing how if your driver is out front, you claim that there's a major rainstorm going on.
Doesn't matter how much moisture's out there, it's a major storm, isn't it? That's exactly right.
I'm sure you guys saw in that last camera angle that we had, you could see the sprinkles of rain on the camera lens. So it obviously is raining in the backside of the track there. It's just a question of exactly how hard it is.
And Robbie Buell has moved up to 3rd position. DeFerrin is 4th, and Andretti now 5th, followed by Jimmy Vassar. So Andretti now is the one who has lost a spot.
And Bob Jenkins, a moment ago, Mario Andretti turned around to me and pointed. He said, Michael has his hands full with this front wing damage. He is all over that steering wheel like he's swatting flies in there trying to hang on. That front wing damage has created a problem as Mario looks on and watches his son try to win his first ever Indy 500 with now a bent left front wing.
Well, at the halfway point, it looked like Michael Andretti would be able to win the Indy 500, but that was 46 laps ago, and a lot has happened since then, including his collision with Tony Stewart on pit road.
Yeah, and that wing is, you can see it right there. It's very badly damaged. It's a lot worse than it appeared when we first saw it. And it might be at these speeds, it's pulling away some of that material and making it worse than it was when we first started.
Tony Stewart has raced here at Indianapolis 4 different times. His best finish came in 1999 when he finished in 5th spot. He was the pole sitter.
Robbie Gordon is reported to be smoking. Oh, there he is right there. Yeah, they just got the race control that he was smoking.
And that would be...
Actually, I think that's Beechler.
Donnie Beechler. Donnie Beechler.
That is.
Beechler had driven to 7th position from the outside of the 9th row, but the caution comes out because there is smoke trailing from his race car.
Well,
and now with just a little more than 50 laps to go, we're going to have another caution period and probably another round of pit stops. Stay with us for more live from the Indy 500.
Back in Indianapolis, still under the yellow. Al Michaels reporting with this race beginning to wind down right now, about 3/4 of the way through right now on lap number 149. On the yellow, Tony Stewart came in for a splash of fuel. Castroneves now has the lead at the moment. He has yet to pit during this sequence. In 1999, we've talked about it several times today, Tony Stewart raced here. The race started at 11 o'clock. He finished 9th. Then he was taken by helicopter from the speedway to a private plane, arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina, accepted the cheers of the huge throng there, drove 600 miles. He was so exhausted, he needed an IV and fluids and all of that. And he says now, 2 years later, he said, you know, I think I over-dramatized it a little. I was just a little bit tired of having to answer all of the media questions. But he'll be answering a lot of questions in Charlotte in a couple of hours, because right now he is very much a primary contender with 50 laps to go, or 125 miles. And can you imagine, I mean, Tony Stewart, if he wins this race in a couple of hours, he'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, what'd you do today, Tony? I won the Indianapolis 500. Let's see if that happens. Let's go to Jackaroo.
But there is a big difference this year versus that year in terms of the way Tony Stewart is prepared. That year when he went down to Charlotte, he feasted on mini bagels and about 20 bottles of Gatorade. This year they've enlisted, Joe Gibbs has, the help of a strength and conditioning trainer that's been at Tony's side since the beginning of practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The things that they have cut out of Tony's diet: pizza, cheeseburgers, and soda pop. The promise after the World 600 this evening: all the pizza you can eat. Jerry?
And Jack, a moment ago, Michael Andretti came down pit road with Team Green, and John Comiskey and the crew came out and took the entire nose off to replace it. What a break for Michael Andretti. An 11.5-second pit stop for 4 tires. And here is the damaged wing. Take a look at this left front wing where he ran into the back of Tony Stewart. It was only an initial crinkle, but with those laps they ran under Green with all the force at 200 miles per hour, the wind began to rip some of the carbon fiber and Kevlar apart. Take a look. This wing was disintegrating. A great break for Michael to get this yellow flag. Vince?
Well, when Tony Stewart came into the pits, he did not take on tires. He just took on fuel. Chip Ganassi says that's not enough to get them to the end, but it gives them a bigger window. And Tony had radioed in previously, and he said, save the best tires for the last stop. So they still feel as though they've got the best rubber waiting for them.
49 laps remain in the Indianapolis 500. Helio Castroneves leads over Robbie Buell and Gilles de Ferran. Stay with us for more from Indy. Back in Indianapolis, where we remain under caution. Thursday night, the Stanley Cup Finals are on ABC. It's the Devils against the Avalanche. The Avalanche won last night. Thursday night, May 31st, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 5 Pacific on ABC. And Tuesday night, game number 2, you can see on ESPN at 8 o'clock Eastern. So the caution remains out here at Indianapolis. Driving 500 miles at speeds over 220 miles an hour can be an exhausting experience. Most drivers relax, at least physically, during caution periods.
You try to relax quite a bit, you know, just relax your arms and your wrists and your hands. You know, try not to grip the wheel hardly at all. Just kind of just cruise around and kind of catch up on your rest.
Depends how long it is. If it's really long, then you can kind of wind down a little bit, but you don't want to use the yellow to relax. You need to use it to think about, what do I need to do to make this car better?
Really, actually, under yellow, you know, we're talking to the pits, describing what the car's doing, so we can make changes, trying to decide when we're coming in for the fuel window. If you're lucky, tilting your visor up to get a little fresh air, but actually, we're pretty busy during the yellow, so you don't get much rest.
You have to not only relax under the yellow flag, you have to also relax when you're going down the straightaways. You have to force yourself to breathe and relax your hands and get ready for the corner. And if you don't get into that rhythm, halfway through the race, you start getting cramps in your hands and you start thinking about, oh goodness, I got another 100 laps to go. So relaxing on the straightaways and under the green is vital.
Eddie Cheever was just talking about cramps in his hands. Tony Stewart is experiencing one in his foot. The gentleman you see there in the green jacket is Dr. Rob Heyer from Charlotte. That's Tony's physician. Tony asked for him to get on the headset and said, I'm feeling a numbness and a cramping in my right foot. The doctor told him there's not really much you can do. If you get a chance, try to wiggle it around, but there's not much they can do for him now in the car with the cramping or the numbness in his right foot. And Bob Jenkins, the right foot happens to be a pretty important foot when you need to get it on the gas to win the Indy 500.
That's the one you need to stand on the button. Well, we're 152 laps into the 500, still under caution. There are a little bit of raindrops in a few areas around the speedway. There you see the complete rundown of how everybody is running, with Scott Sharp out in a crash on lap 1. Whose face will join these faces as winner of the Indianapolis 500, and whose image will be emblazoned on the Borg-Warner Trophy, signifying victory at Indianapolis? Right now, Helio Castroneves is the leader, but we are under a red flag. Pretty good shower moving over the speedway. In fact, it's wetting the front stretch here in front of us. And so the cars have been brought to a halt on pit road after they cross the start-finish line. Jerry Punch.
And Bob, while we have a moment, while they red flag the field, we'll give you a little medical information now. We told you earlier that rookie John Herb was wearing a biomedical recording device. This is called the Life Shirt. See all the cables in this shirt? This was attached to a computer device in the nose of the car. Now, what it told us was, under green, his heart rate averaged about 160 a minute. His respiration's at 35 a minute. That equates to a marathon runner in the middle of a marathon. Now, about the 150 lap mark, the forearms of these drivers began to cramp and begin to burn from that tight grip they have on the steering wheel and all the vibration. Their head feels like a bowling ball because it weighs 3 times the normal weight because of the G-force in the turns. And here's the key part. Their eyes begin to dry out because they're afraid to blink. They keep their eyes open, they begin to dry and ache, because at these speeds, if you blink, a blink is 1/10 of a second. That's 30 feet. If you're 15 feet behind a car in front of you and you blink, you might just run over them. Jack?
We're down here with Helio Castroneves, and Helio is right behind the Bravada pace car. Helio, you're leading this Indianapolis 500 as a rookie.
Yeah, I tell you, it's been so far really funny and fun at the same times. I mean, there's a lot of traffic, and you have to be really careful, really patient, and that's what it's taking. You know, the guy's doing a fantastic job in the pit stop. So I hope it's rain whole day, you know, and keep like this. I don't know until when, but for me, I love the rain right now.
What about the track conditions? How have they evolved from the start of the race to right now without considering the rain?
Say it again?
What about the track conditions? How much have they changed from the start of the race without the rain?
Yeah, it changed a lot. I mean, the wind is shifting, and this is really tough, but my car so far is handling very well, especially with half the field, and I'm just taking it easy in the beginning and the restart to make sure that I set it down. But hey, still 50 more laps to go, so let's keep cool.
Vince?
Richie Hearn, you see him now, and he's got on a blue sweatshirt, but next time you see him, he might have his driver's suit on, getting ready to take over for Tony Stewart, possibly.
Yeah, it's getting pretty close to his leave time, and you know, I haven't gotten any word from anybody, but I'm going to go ahead and just, you know, get dressed, and if I get the call, I'll be out there, so we'll see what happens.
Tony Stewart has just gotten out of the race car. Richie Hearn's getting ready to go to the garage to put on his driver's suit. Bob Jenkins?
Will Tony Stewart relinquish that ride and give it to Richie or will he stick around for this rain delay? Interesting situations going on here. More of the 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Just took off running, and Tony said he wants more than anything to just get some movement into his leg because he was struggling with his cramp. Hey, Tony, real quickly as we go, what's your deadlift? Tony Stewart is in the first aid room, and just a few moments ago, you saw him running from the car to the actual first aid area. Now, the first thing Tony did was lay down on one of the cots. He was complaining of pain in his right buttocks area because of the fact that he'd been sitting in the same position for so long, and therefore his right foot was experiencing some cramping and numbness. So the first thing he wanted to do was get out of the car, put some weight and pressure on that foot, and now he's come into the first aid room. He's laid down on the cot, face first, and they're doing some massaging to the right upper buttocks area and the lower back down into the leg, into the right foot. Hopefully, Stewart will be able to not only get some feeling back in that foot, but also get back in the race car, Jerry Punch.
And Vince, this is the time in the race when a lot of drivers complain of cramping. We've talked to Buddy Lazier and a few others out here who had some cramps in their lower leg as well as their forearm. Now, the protocol for Tony Stewart today was to take him in the care center and try to get 2 liters of IV fluid in him and get him on the helicopter and get him out of here by 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 Eastern Time. If he leaves here by 3 o'clock, he will arrive in Charlotte 12 minutes before Gentlemen Start Your Engines. Jackaroot.
Well, Jerry Punch, Robbie Buell has got an Infiniti 35A sandwiched between 2 Team Penske cars. Robbie, you've got to make one more stop. Can you hold off the advances of these guys, these Penske cars?
Well, Jack, I couldn't hear what you're saying there. I was getting stepped on, but I'm happy with the power plant. We got it trimmed back pretty good. You know, hopefully this rain will pass and we'll get a shot at leading this thing, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
You guys made a calculated gamble when you pitted early. Now, what about pit stops? You only have to make one more stop and then you can go the distance?
I really haven't thought about that too much with the guys, but I imagine that's probably what we can do. There's, probably about 45 laps left right now. So, yeah, we should be okay.
Jerry Punch, the last thing a driver wants to think about is how many laps before he has to come onto pit road. He just wants to depress that right pedal.
Exactly, and Michael Andretti has already dodged a couple of bullets here today, and he climbs out of the car and is trying to wipe off his visor. And we'll get over and get a quick comment from Michael. Michael, initially you dodged one bullet. That cut left rear tire could have put you out or could have had a problem, and then the wing problem.
Yeah, I mean, just one of those deals. It seems like every time we start to get going good, something happens, but you know, hopefully the problems are behind us. We'll get this thing going and try to get it back up front.
You still have an awfully good car, and I know Barry and Kim Green and your dad Mario have been smiling ear to ear on pit road thinking about what could happen in these final 40 laps or so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. You know, we have the car to win. You know, it's just if we can let all these problems leave us go, you know, maybe we'll get up to the front.
Maybe indeed Michael Andretti will get his first Indy 500 win here today. Leslie?
Jerry Cheever was just saying it's a real bummer, and I think that's probably an understatement, to be sitting up here in one of the suites watching the race going on below. What happened today?
I don't really know. I think it might be an electrical problem that we had throughout the whole month, or we might have had a problem in the top end of the valve, but it's all very confusing down there. We're not sure, but it was very disappointing to see Scott's Grill to Go car crash right in the beginning, because there's one thing that Scott is good at, is finishing races, so he got caught up in somebody else's accident. So all in all, it's been a terrible month for Cheever Indy Racing. You just got to pick up the pieces and go on.
And you felt real comfortable with the speeds that you've had. It was just sort of longevity with the engine.
It wasn't so much a question of longevity. It's always little pieces that make up an engine. But we've got Robbie now who's running second, so we're all rooting for him. And I think he's got something left. Robbie is always one of those drivers that holds a little bit for the end, and it's been a very exciting race today. Weather keeps coming and going. It was kind of sad. Did Tony just jump in not an elevator, in a helicopter?
If he could get there in an elevator, he wouldn't have left yet. No, he has not jumped in yet, but he has gone back there, so that's yet to be seen what he's going to do. The weather, you were out there when it started to sprinkle right around the time that you came in. What sort of an effect does that have on a driver?
Well, you are one with your car and your pits when you're out there, and if the conditions change, you pick up on it very quickly. Luckily, when we were out there, the track we were under yellow when it started to rain. And I mean, there's no way you could run these cars at 230 miles an hour if it's sprinkling. So they've done the right calls all day long, and they had to stop the race now because it's getting too slippery. These slick tires, even at 30 miles an hour, it's impossible to drive. But it's very difficult for a racing driver to start a race, get out of the car, get back in, get all this input from people, and just go for, what is it now? How many laps they have left?
We're at 155.
45 laps is a long way. That's a tank and a half, so it's a long way to go, but it'll be exciting. I don't like watching the Indy 500 from up here. I'd much rather be down there, but I'm gonna have to wait another 365 days to do that.
Well, I guess a lot to think about between now and then, Jerry Punch.
And Chip, we just heard a moment ago they were calling drivers back to their cars, and you're looking for Tony.
Yeah, he had his leg went to sleep. I think he went over to the medical center, so I got to go get him back over here.
Well, we know he's at the medical center. Will he come back and get in the car, or will Richie be the guy?
No, we're not on his window yet. Don't worry about that. We're not on his window yet.
All right, he just walked out of the medical center, and Chip Ganassi looking for his driver because they are calling him back to the cars.
Indeed, all drivers have been told to report to their cars, and we'll be getting hopefully restarted here in just a moment. Now, the forecast in Charlotte is for possible thunderstorms this afternoon. However, by race time later this evening, skies are expected to be clear. We're in a rain delay here at Indy. More in just a moment.
About 20 seconds away from the restarting of engines here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Mark Dismore, can you describe the disappointment of having that gearbox fail?
No, I can't, Jack. I'm brokenhearted, to tell you the truth. I mean, I think, I was in a position to bring Delphi Bryant home in first, and now I'm just going through the motions and hope some other. I hate wishing people bad luck, but I need to have a little of that now just to help us in the points for the rest of the IRL season.
Jerry, that's what it's all about for Mark Dismore now, points and pride.
Well, down here in the Target Ganassi pits, Jack, they are restrapping Tony Stewart back in the car, and Tony had run to the infield care center for some deep tissue massage. He was complaining of cramping in the leg. And let me show you what the problem was here. In the back of his leg here in the hamstring area, it was beginning to tighten up, so he could take his foot and he could push down, but he couldn't pull back because it pulls on the hamstring, and that was all cramped up. They did some deep tissue manipulation to that hamstring, and right now Tony just told me a moment ago it's better, but it's not completely gone. Bob?
Well, we're going to have a 1-hour recap of this 500, and I can already see a problem of getting what we've experienced so far into 1 hour. But watch us at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2. A wrap-up of the greatest spectacle in racing. The engines are about to be fired, and we'll be back for the restart at Indianapolis in a moment. Aerial view of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as the sun is shining over most of the track right now, and aerial coverage of the 85th running of the 500 is being brought to you by Monster.com, sponsor of Monster Sports Jobs on ESPN.com. Yes, sunshine. They always say that if you don't like the weather in Indiana, wait 10 minutes and it'll change. We had a pretty good shower about a half hour ago, and now we've got sunshine. Roger Penske sees his drivers running first and third. Roger Penske has more wins here in Indianapolis than any other owner. 10 times his drivers have gone to victory lane, 7 different drivers, and 29 front row starts, including 11 pole positions. Could he make it number 11 today? Well, he's got a pretty good shot at it right now with his drivers running first and third with 156 laps completed.
Well, you never want to count out the captain. Every time he's ever come here, with the exception of 95, he's been the man to beat for the last 20 years or so, and it's no different this year.
The red flag was 16 minutes and 34 seconds, Jack.
And one of the things under red flag conditions that you're allowed to do in the IRL is make repairs to your car. That's what A.J. Foyt did back in Gasoline Alley. They replaced the oil cooler on Robbie Gordon's car.
And he is back out there.
Also a good bit for Robbie Gordon there to be able to have that 16-minute red flag, to be able to change out that oil filter. He remains the last car on the lead lap for us in 8th position.
It's Castroneves, Buell, DeFerrin, Vassar, Stewart, Junqueira having a good run for Chip Ganassi, Michael Andretti, then Robbie Gordon. Then a lap down in 9th position is Eliseo Salazar and Billy Boat, who survived 48 minutes on the bubble last Sunday and watched 12 drivers try to knock him out of the field. He survived and now has gone to the top 10. Robbie Gordon, we understand, is going to get a drive-through penalty for working on the car under a red flag situation. Just a drive-through 80 miles an hour for Robbie Gordon.
Bob, one of the concerns right now for Roger Penske and Helio Castroneves is that these engines, these Ilmor Oldsmobiles, have been sitting for as long. They've got to get the temperature back up. Roger has warned Castroneves to be careful on the engine and the gearbox when they go back to green.
Well, Larry, we've got 157 laps completed. Still a long way to go. As Eddie Cheever Jr. said, we've got more than a tank full of fuel to burn off. What's the strategy?
Well, everybody's going to have to make one more pit stop. But Stewart, Andretti, and Jim Cara all stopped on lap 149. So they can run about 15 laps farther than anybody else that's in that lead group. So they're going to stay out there, hope for a yellow, and hope that that'll put them a lap up on everybody.
And Larry, a moment ago, Chip Ganassi told Tony Stewart, we are fine on fuel, go to +3. That's full rich and full power, and let's rocket this thing to the front so we can make a short pit stop and win this thing. So it's full power now for Tony Stewart.
As far as the driver in the second position, that's Robbie Buell. He can stay out until about lap 170. He would maybe have a lap or two to play with, but they will like to have him in by 170 if they don't have a yellow beforehand.
And 170 is also the mark for Helio Castroneves, and they are concerned, as we said, coming back up to speed.
The green flag waves once again at Indianapolis, and the 500 is back under race condition. And Robbie Buell looks for a way around Helio Castroneves as they head for turn number 1, and Buell can't get the job done as Castroneves pulls ahead a little bit.
And he told his crew that Helio would probably try to block him, but he was going to go for it. That's exactly what Castroneves did. Now, in the drivers' meeting, Brian Barnhart said he would not stand for blocking. It'll be interesting to see if that happens many more times, what the officials do here.
Well, and Larry, Robbie Buell came right on the radio immediately. I cannot repeat what he said, but he was going along that same line. He was very upset with Castroneves' defensive driving.
Yeah, Helio actually moved to the inside to block him from taking an inside line, and then when Robbie moved to the outside, Helio came out there again, then went inside and outside again. That's four blocks. That's 3 too many, isn't it, Larry Rice?
Well, you see right there, he tried to do it once again. He tried to go to the inside. Castroneves kept moving down and moving down. He tried to go to the outside then, and then he had to back off. You can't stay right behind him in the middle of the corner. You got to give yourself a little room because there's too much dirty air.
Chackaroo.
Remember, that's one of the things in kart that there's been an issue about, but they do allow drivers to at least take one block before they get upset. So maybe this was a kart technique against the Indy Racing League.
Meanwhile, Gilles de Ferran is right there in third position. He's right on the rear wing of Robbie Buell, and Jimmy Vasser is not far behind. Michael Andretti also.
Well, Robbie Buell has another run, but he just couldn't do it. He had to move back up on the racetrack to enter the corner. But when he does that, that's when de Ferran closes on him. So he stands a real risk of losing second when he doesn't make that run work out.
Roger.
All right, we got a fight on our hands, pal. Clear behind.
Indeed, we do have a fight on the racetrack. Penske drivers running first and third. Ganassi has 3 drivers in the top 10, and A.J. Foyt has 2 drivers in the top 10. Multi-car teams are showing their strength here this afternoon, and now there are 39 to go.
Wow, the big names at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway never seem to change, do they? Penske, Foyt, Chip Ganassi, unbelievable.
They're all here.
Right now, it's Robbie Buell that's sitting back there thinking, how am I going to get this job done?
Good job, clear behind.
And then it settled in a little bit.
Remember, Robbie Buell was leading the point standings in the IRL. At this time last year, he had won the race in Orlando and had some other good finishes that put him in the points lead. This year, Buell finds himself all the way down in 20th position in the points. But boy, performance here in Indianapolis would strengthen this team tremendously. It's the Team Purex Dryer and Reinbolt G-Force that Robbie Buell drives. They picked up an associate sponsorship from Coast Soap earlier this week. And look at the line speeds in order, first, second, and third.
Wow.
Well, what happens is when you're running in the dirty air, you can't run quite as fast as the guy in front of you unless you get that draft and really are able to get sucked up through the draft. But if you're just a little bit too far back, you get in the dirty air, and it slows you down, actually. He's got another run coming off. Maybe not close enough.
There's Helio taking a more defensive line going into one that time, and Ken taking a much straighter line. Obviously, he might have got spoken to by race control.
Well, when he runs that low into the corner, it's got to hurt him a little bit coming off of the corner. So entering the corner that low doesn't give you a very good angle at the corner, but Robbie Buell still hasn't been able to make that move, make it stick.
Helio Castroneves has already won in kart racing this year. He was a pole sitter and the winner at Long Beach. Finished second in Japan just last week. Had an 11th place finish at Nazareth and an 8th at Mexico. So Castroneves is having a good season in kart, and he's having a terrific race at Indianapolis.
And let's not forget that these guys all must make one additional pit stop. You cover a football field in 0.8 of a second. So if you can shave 1 second off on your pit stop, that can be the difference between first and fourth in this race.
There's Stewart and Andretti running in 5th and 6th position, respectively.
Stewart is complaining of a push, and he's been told to use the sway bar to try to correct that. So we'll see if he picks up any speed at all. Right now, Michael Andretti catching him, though.
Stewart and Andretti both running about 11 seconds behind the leader of the race, Castroneves. When we began the race, we told you we would watch some stories for you throughout the event, and we continue to do so, watching specifically those on the comeback, including Roger Penske as car owner, and also drivers Lyondike, Andretti, and Stewart. Unfortunately, not a good day for Sarah Fisher, as she was out with a crash. Oh, and that's that's somebody sliding into the inside retaining wall off of corner number 2. We'll check to see who it is, but it's going to bring out the caution. And it is Buell.
That's Robbie Buell.
I thought so.
Oh, man, what a tough.
Not that bad. Will it roll, Robbie? Will it roll? I don't think so. Can you roll me? Can you push me? If you can get that thing fired up, I don't know how hard you hit. I couldn't see.
Here's what happened to Buell running in 2nd spot.
Just got loose coming off of the corner, slid out, missed the outside wall, hard on the brakes, but he did make some contact on that inside wall.
And Gilles de Ferran was right behind him, and de Ferran did a nice job of getting on the brakes and not getting collected by Robbie.
Well, he certainly did. He was hard on the binders, too. Right there you can see the contact. Wasn't hard contact, but these suspension pieces are pretty fragile. It doesn't take a lot of contact to do a lot of damage in these cars.
Down to Vince Welch.
Dennis Reinbold, one of the owners of this race team, and certainly challenging for the lead, but what a disappointing turn of events.
Yeah, it's a challenge. The Purex Infinity car was really fast. I really wanted to give Infinity the first win of the Indy 500 today. I thought we had it wrapped up. Or not wrapped up, but I thought we had a heck of a shot. So it kind of breaks our heart to see that happen, to say the least.
Dennis Reinbold.
So Robbie Buell will not win the Indianapolis 500, and that puts the Penske cars 1st and 2nd.
Well, it looks like some of the teams are setting up for pit stops. This will be interesting because when they come in, they'll still have 34 laps. That's really on the edge.
Whoa,
so
is.
Fuel mileage, if they pit now and there's no more yellows, fuel mileage is going to be the utmost importance and probably will win this race.
And Larry, let's not forget that for the leader, Helio Castroneves, they wanted to go to 170. If they pit before then, it is going to be dicey. Remember that they run an Ilmor engine. Those engines were taking all of the information from Carb Day and redone to try and increase their fuel mileage for situations just like this.
And Jack, no problem at all for fuel consumption up here in Tony Stewart's pit. They can pit now and make it without a problem whatsoever there. But the problem you heard a moment ago Larry Rice talk about is Stewart has a push in the car. He did manipulate the weight jackers, as Larry Rice mentioned, but Tony said it didn't help. So they're going to make an adjustment here in stagger. They're going to increase the stagger here when he makes his pit stop in a lap or so when the pits open up, which should be his final stop. Maybe that will rectify the push, and Tony can make a charge for the lead.
Well, the pits were closed that time by. They will be open next time by. And so that will be a pit stop on lap 168.
And looking up and down the pit lane, Bob, it looks like most of the teams, if not all the teams in contention, have got their tires out and their guys are getting ready for their drivers to pull in so they can make a run to the finish.
This was a huge break for Robbie Gordon because he was within a couple of car lengths of being lapped by Castroneves when the caution came out, but now he's back at the tail of the field.
And we're going to see about the fuel mileage. The two cars in the lead are Ilmor engines, the Penske cars. The next two engines are built by Comtech. Andretti's engine is built by Speedway. So 3 different engine manufacturers or builders in that top 5. And fuel is going to be very, very important here near the end.
All right, we'll see what happens during these pit stops here in just a moment as the field moves through turn number 3. That is Robbie Buell's car on the back of the hook.
It is rolling. You can see it's being pulled. It's not being hauled in. It's being pulled, so he may be able to get back in the race.
The Bravada pace car, or pace SUV, actually. First time in history that such a vehicle has paced the Indy 500.
The pace stuff, we love to call it.
Yes. Here we go. They head for pit road. There's first, second, and third, Castroneves, DeFerrin, and Vassar, and where they will be stopping. Vassar will be the first to hit his pit box. And then the 2 Penske drivers, Castroneves is in, and there is DeFerrin pulling into his box.
Gets it refired and now gets it away, but that stall cost him an extra 3 or 4 seconds.
And also Jimmy Vassar stalled on his exit and loses several positions. And it was a battle once again as to who would be first out among the Penske drivers.
And Castroneves once again pulled out into that fast lane. There was nobody coming that time. It'll be interesting to see if they penalize him again because he did pull out into the fast lane.
Not only did he pull out in the fast lane, Larry Rice, it looked to me like he actually had contact with the wall with his right rear tire. It could be interesting to see if he's done any damage to that car.
Stay with us for more action. The 85th running of the Indianapolis 500. 168 laps completed.
Delphi Automotive Systems, driving tomorrow's technology. And Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile dealers.
Almost ready for a restart here at Indianapolis. Let's show you once again the race off pit road. Watch the bottom of your screen for the Penske cars.
Yeah, if you look right here, you'll see where Helio Castroneves almost hits the wall right down here. There he is. He almost hits it, but doesn't quite. Gets real squirrely. From the other camera angle, it looked to me like he hit the wall, but my good friend Larry Rice was correct. No contact.
But he did move out in that outside lane, Larry.
Yes, and you know, he almost has to do that to miss his teammate, but it's not really what they're supposed to do. He has been told by Tim Cindric, the head of that operation, that he has to keep a straight line. Race control has told him that he has to keep a straight line. He can't block it.
But in his defense, it's difficult to stay in that same line when you've got somebody pulling out right ahead of you, especially if it's your teammate.
Oh, absolutely. This is and this is crunch time. This is Indianapolis 500.
That's
you
right.
want to win this, baby. Let me tell you, you're going to take chances here you don't take every week.
You know, guys, when we came out of that pit stop, look who's in third place, Michael Andretti.
Yep.
And you know, guys, when you talk about taking chances, Michael Andretti's going to be taking one because he needs 2.3, better than 2.3 miles per gallon to get to the end of the Indianapolis 500. Jack?
Well, Vince, Tim Cindric, as Larry Rice alluded to, has been talking to Helio Castroneves and repeating over and over just a couple of words. Remember, lead, don't block. Lead, don't block. More than 3 times for the normal mind. We'll have to wait and see what the rookie Brazilian does.
We are ready to go green at Indianapolis. Robbie Buell, by the way, is back in the race. He is 3 laps down in 16th position, but nevertheless, he is back in competition as the green flag flies over Indianapolis once again.
And it looks like, I thought the Penske, They're going to battle each other.
Here's DeFerrin on the outside. The Penske cars roll through turn one, wheel to wheel, and DeFerrin gives way. But watch what happens as they hit the backstretch. Will DeFerrin have the momentum to pass his teammate? No, but looks like that Helio Castroneves has held him off for the time being.
Wow, you really got to trust your teammate to go into turn one too wide like that. That's impressive driving on both of their behalves.
On board with Mark Dismore, who's not in the battle for the lead, but a good view of what's up ahead of him from the top two.
Well, both of those guys had to lift. They both were side by side. They had to lift. That's what gave Dismore the run on them going down the main straightaway. But it looks like Dismore actually is outrunning them anyway right now.
And Mark Dismore does indeed get a good run down the front stretch, but backs off and falls behind him. Now we're on board with Sam Hornish Jr.
He's fourth in line, but he's not really in the running after that spin earlier in the day. But he is running with the leaders. Just goes to show you what one small mistake early in the race, how much difference that can make.
Yeah, and that really puts a big point on what Mark Dismore was saying earlier during the red flag about how disappointed he was, and he really felt he had a car that could have won the race today. Looks like he does. I mean, he's having no problem running with the leaders. Really disappointing day for Mark Dismore and the whole Kelly Racing team.
He's 17th, 4 laps down, and yes, his lap speed, as a matter of fact, he is running over 219, and the only other drivers running over 219 are these two, the two leaders, Castroneves and DeFerrin.
Yeah, it appears that those 4 cars have actually pulled away a little bit from everybody else out on the racetrack. So when Andretti, should he get some speed and get up there, he's going to have a heck of a time getting around these lap cars to get to the Penske cars.
Michael Andretti is running in third position, about 3 1/4 seconds behind.
It's going to be interesting. They do have to get about 2.4 miles to the gallon. So these guys at some point are going to have to turn that fuel down and slow up a little bit in order to get that kind of gas mileage. I don't think they can stay on full fuel and get good enough gas mileage to finish this race.
Well, Larry, let's update you on Team Penske. Both drivers have been told that they have plenty of fuel. Remember, in one of the early sections of the race, they went 34 and 35 laps respectively. And so Roger has made the decision, got plenty of fuel. I seem to remember John Menard saying that to Robbie Gordon a couple of years ago.
Vince Welch.
And guys, Michael Andretti has just been told as well that he has enough fuel to get to the end. We don't know if maybe they're just trying to make these drivers go confident, or if they do know indeed that they've got enough fuel to get them to the distance.
Watching real time there, and DeFerrin's deficit to Castroneves varying from 0.4 to 0.6 seconds. Well, for those of you who are tuning in to watch the Snapple Superstars, we invite you to stay with us, because that will be coming up next at the conclusion of our coverage of the Indianapolis 500, which has less than 24 laps to go now. The Indy 500 being led by Helio Castroneves, with Gil DeFerrin running in second position, and Team Penske right now is running 1-2. Michael Andretti is third. Bruno Junqueira for Chip Ganassi's team is fourth. Jimmy Vasser also running in the top 5. Numerous crashes today, especially in the early going. They eliminated the pole sitter Scott Sharp, also Sarah Fisher. We had a rain delay of a little bit, but now we are green to the checkered flag, hopefully, because the sun is shining once again on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's Jimmy Vasser we're taking a look at right there. He's in fourth place, trying to chase down Michael Andretti. And right now, he's not having much luck, because he's not running quite as fast as Michael is up there in front of him.
I think it took Jimmy a while to get by his teammate, the rookie Junqueira, who was just a couple of seconds behind him there in the identical car.
Vasser is 13 seconds behind the leader. Jerry?
Guys, here in the Tony Stewart pit, the concern is not fuel, but time, because they know they have plenty of fuel, but right now Tony's fighting a little bit of a loose condition and losing some ground on the racetrack. But he's also losing a battle with the clock. If this checkered flag falls, according to what we're doing right now, he will have approximately 5.5 minutes from the wave of the checkered flag to be on a helicopter to head to Charlotte, or else he will miss the start of the 600 miles.
cutting it very, very thin. We'll return with more of the 85th running of the Indianapolis 500 after a word from our ABC stations.
World of Sports.
They're the top 5 at the Indianapolis 500, and now there are less than 20 laps to go. We have reached the 180-lap mark, and in 7 of the last 9 years, the leader at that lap has failed to win the 500.
But if Helio Castroneves should win the race, Bob Jenkins, it would be the 2nd year in a row that a rookie has won the race. And before that, the last time a Wookiee for that, Chewbacca won it in 1972. No, the last time a rookie won before that was 1966 when it was Graham Hill.
Yep.
We want to talk about rookies, though, fellas. How about giving a call to Bruno Junqueira? In the first week of qualifying, he had to sit on the sidelines as he watched Tony Stewart and Jimmy Vasser replace he and Nicholas Manassia. Now, all of a sudden, Junqueira finds himself in 5th position in the greatest race in the world.
He has run a very, very steady race this afternoon. Bruno Junqueira has. He is in 5th position. They're giving you some comparisons here in the last few laps. Yes. He fell from 0.8 seconds behind on lap 176 to now more than 1 3/4 seconds behind.
Yeah, so Castroneves obviously feeling very comfortable and very good out there. They told him just a few minutes ago on the radio, though, to save fuel when you can. So maybe they're not quite as sure as we thought maybe they were.
Castroneves had 3 wins in the kart series last year at Detroit, Mid-Ohio, and Laguna Seca, and also 3 poles. Finished 7th in the point standings in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Let's check his speed down.